This poor high school student was walking home from school when he suddenly found himself blocked by a glass ball. Junwoo looked up and saw that not far away, an old lady was selling antiques. He went over and returned the glass ball to the old lady. At that moment, Junwoo was attracted by a gold spoon on the stall. The old lady saw that there was business coming her way and hurriedly introduced it. As long as you use this spoon to eat 3 meals at the same person's house, you can exchange identities with the other person. Junwoo looked at the spoon in his hand and was momentarily tempted. He then went to the home of the rich second-generation Taejun. Taejun's father is the richest man in the country. Rich classmates from school gather here. Junwoo handed the documents to Ji-hyun, and the other party immediately pulled out the money. It turned out that the classmates asked Junwoo to come here just to humiliate him, but Junwoo didn't care about being humiliated by others at all. As a special admission student from a socially disadvantaged group, he has been bullied all along. He has no money and no power, so he has long since learned to swallow his pride. Just as Junwoo was about to leave, Taejun asked him to stay for dinner. Compared to other rich kids, Taejun is relatively kind. At dinner, everyone has shiny, solid gold cutlery. Ji-hyun once again humiliates Junwoo by saying that he is only worthy of stainless steel cutlery. Junwoo immediately takes out the gold spoon he just bought, then he eats it with gusto. Suddenly, a flash of golden light. He inadvertently became a rich man. Junwoo's family of 4 lived in the basement. His father had guaranteed a loan of 1 billion won for someone else and he spent his days at home dreaming of being a cartoonist. Junwoo was admitted to the best high school in the country with excellent grades. He had to work 2 jobs every day to pay for tuition and living expenses. Because he was poor, Junwoo had to endure bullying from his classmates at school. He never dared to fight back because he had no money. His classmates laughed and then slapped him. Loan sharks harassed him. He was bullied. His best friend's family was driven to suicide by debt. Junwoo blamed it all on being poor. He gritted his teeth in anger and hated the injustice of the world. That night, he had a dream. He dreamed that his sister and parents had committed suicide after leaving a suicide note. This was exactly what his best friend had experienced. Junwoo didn't want his life to be like theirs, so he began to believe what the old woman had said. He made a meticulous plan, and finally set his sights on Taejun. His father is the richest man in South Korea. Junwoo had once eaten at Taejun's house with a gold spoon. He only needed to eat twice more to complete the identity swap. After formulating his plan, Junwoo began to deliberately get close to Taejun. Although Taejun's family was rich, his father had always been very strict with him. All day long, he taught him subjects that he couldn't get to grips with. Just when he was at his wit's end, Junwoo appeared before him. Junwoo's professional demeanor immediately won Taejun over. With his help, Taejun won the first praise of his life. Junwoo used his knowledge to help him complete his homework time and time again. The two grew closer as a result. Today, the school announced the shortlist for the Eagle class. Being accepted into the Eagle class is equivalent to getting a ticket to Seoul National University. Junwoo happened to be in 30th place. This would have been something to be happy about, but Ji-hyun happened to be ranked 31st. He blamed it all on Junwoo and thought he had given him the wrong answer, but it was obvious that he had made a mistake on his own answer sheet. Unsurprisingly, Junwoo was beaten up again. Ji-hyun told him to quit the Eagle class so that he could take his place. That was Junwoo's only chance to turn his life around as a poor person. How would he give up so easily? It can be imagined that Junwoo was beaten up again. Since you won't quit on your own, I have plenty of ways. Because of the injustice of not having money, Junwoo's heart became clearer and clearer. He wanted to become rich with the golden spoon. That night, he went to Taejun's house. After handing over the information, he said he was hungry and wanted to eat something before leaving. But before he could start eating, Taejun's father returned home. He really disliked Junwoo, a boy from the slums. Just as the maid was about to throw the food away, Junwoo rushed in, grabbed the gold spoon and started eating it. When he looked up, Taejun's father was standing in front of him. Junwoo turned his head and hurriedly walked away, but left the gold spoon behind. Taejun's mother disdainfully took the spoon and returned it to him. Junwoo was mocked again. Just as he was leaving, Taejun's father received a call from Ji-hyun. He learned that Junwoo had helped Taejun with his homework. Junwoo, who had just left, was furious. He felt that the gold spoon was driving him crazy, so he angrily threw the spoon into the trash. But the next day, Taejun's father came to school with a lawyer and falsely accused Junwoo of threatening and blackmailing Taejun and produced the transfer records Taejun gave him. But that was obviously the payment for helping him with his homework. Faced with multiple questions, Junwoo panicked. He hoped that Taejun could help him explain, but Taejun told everyone that Junwoo had forced him to do it. Junwoo's father saw that his son was going to drop out of school and there was nothing he could do. He could only kneel on the ground and beg Taejun's mother. But this was disgusting to Taejun's mother. Seeing his father kneeling on the ground, Junwoo's heart was broken. It was because they were poor. As the aggrieved party, they could only kneel on the ground like dogs and beg for forgiveness. His classmates watched the whole thing with cold eyes. Ji Hyun was especially smug. He was the one who had caused all this. That night, Junwoo asked Taejun to meet him. Facing Junwoo's questioning, Taejun confessed everything. He had never considered Junwoo a friend. How could he? With his status? Junwoo took out his phone. It turned out that he had recorded everything. He was going to send the recording to the media to show them what kind of family the richest man had. Taejun was scared out of his pants when he heard this. He hastily took out money to try to silence Junwoo. If the media really found out, he would definitely be beaten to death by his angry father. Seeing that Junwoo was about to leave, Taejun quickly stopped him. During their argument, Junwoo accidentally fell off the platform. Taejun quickly held him back, but in the end, Junwoo still fell. Taejun quickly went down to save him. He just dialed the emergency number, but then suddenly thought, wouldn't it be better if Junwoo died? After a lot of internal struggle, Taejun hung up the phone, turned his head away as if nothing had happened. And at that moment, Junwoo was sinking. He accepted his fate as he was dying. It might be better to die than to be bullied for the rest of his life. But just then, a golden spoon with a shiny gold handle appeared in front of him. It was as if he saw a lifesaver. He swam desperately towards the golden spoon. He went to the garbage dump and searched for it. Fortunately, the golden spoon had not been picked up. Junwoo picked up the golden spoon as if he had unlimited strength. He recklessly barged into Taejun's father's house and said something that left them all confused. Facing this poor boy who had come to beg for food, Taejun's father generously prepared dinner for Junwoo. Seeing the golden spoon he had brought out, Taejun's father became interested. Why did you come to my house to eat with this kind of thing? Junwoo replied, because I want to change my fate. Meanwhile, Taejun was sitting in the car, feeling uneasy. He finally felt remorse and was preparing to go back to help Junwoo, who had fallen into the water. But just as he ran out, a dizziness hit him. Taejun suddenly froze in place. A car couldn't avoid a collision and crashed into him. Junwoo didn't notice anything unusual after eating. Could it be that he had already exchanged identities with Taejun? He called out Dad tentatively. Looking at the gold spoon in his hand, Junwoo suddenly felt that this was all a joke. He quickly apologized to Taejun's father and then turned to leave. But just then a woman suddenly walked up to him. She came up and directly called out Taejun's name. Jisoo was actually Junwoo's colleague when he worked part-time at the convenience store. In fact, her real identity was a rich girl and Taejun's fiancé. Earlier at school, she saw Taejun deliberately make things difficult for Junwoo. Jisoo was so angry that she came looking for trouble. This slap happened to confirm Junwoo's identity. He really became Taejun's identity. Taejun's father also came over at this time to confirm Junwoo's doubts. He questioned Jisoo why she had to hit his son. It turned out that this golden spoon was really so magical. Just then the police came to the door. They received a case Junwoo had disappeared. Before disappearing, Junwoo had been with Taejun. Taejun was taken to the police station for questioning. The police showed him the surveillance video from that time. He laughed wildly after seeing it. The person in the video who had originally fallen into the water was him, but now it had become Taejun. The police searched the river all night but found nothing. Junwoo's mother almost fainted when she learned about her son's accident. At that time, she saw Taejun, who had just walked out, and hurriedly asked him about her son's whereabouts. Seeing his mother's tears, Taejun's heart ached, but they were no longer his parents. He hurriedly called Junwoo to reassure his mother, but the person on the other end of the line was a woman. She was obviously the one who reported the two of them to the police. The woman must have seen what happened. At that moment, the housekeeper told him that Junwoo had been found. He had been taken to the hospital. Taejun let out a sigh of relief. The new Junwoo woke up from his coma and accepted his new role naturally. Everything just went on as before. It seemed to everyone except Taejun that nothing had ever changed. Taejun went to the hospital to visit Junwoo. When Junwoo saw him, he called out Taejun's name. Taejun was suddenly shocked. Junwoo's sister heard him calling her name and thought that her brother's mind was failing him. She asked if he had pushed Junwoo into the water. Taejun didn't know how to answer, but Junwoo said that he had pushed Taejun. Taejun was stunned. Could it be that he remembered everything that had happened? But why didn't he reveal his identity? Just as he was puzzled, Junwoo said that he couldn't remember clearly. It seems that his memory is still a bit confused. Taejun returned home. Everything in front of his eyes was so novel. Compared with the previous small and damp basement, it was like the difference between heaven and hell. But new problems arose. After walking around for a while, he couldn't find his room. He went into his mother's room by mistake. When she heard her son, Jinky, suddenly acted unnaturally. It turned out that only the father and mother were allowed to answer the phone in this house. No wonder Taejun's father was unhappy when Junwoo first called him dad. After he came out, he happened to meet the butler. With his assistance, The butler pushed a cart full of data and took him back to his room. There were not only structural drawings of the house, but also the resumes of all the employees. He had to get used to his new role. It was twice as big as his house with countless brand-name clothes, a watch he could never afford in his life, and a portrait taller than him, all of which truly belonged to him. Taejun took out the gold spoon and found an extra number on the handle. He recalled the old lady saying that there were 3 chances in total. When the time came to 12 o'clock, the number on the handle also turned into 29. At that time, he would have a chance to choose. Taejun, who had returned to school, was like a king returning. Looking at Ji-hyun, who came over to ingratiate himself, Taejun simply gave him a dirty look. This embarrassing scene immediately attracted the ridicule of his classmates. Looking at the principal and teachers who had been bought by Taejun's father, they laughed and talked about the scene of packing Junwoo that day. Taejun directly said, "You decided to expel Junwoo without finding out the whole story." He admitted that it was him who framed Junwoo that day and reported that Ji-hyun had plagiarized. At this time, Ji-hyun was bullying his classmates as usual, and these people are all Junwoo's best friends. Ji-hyun likes to bully people who have no money or power. He was about to give him a slap when he hit him on the head. Taejun pretended to have hit the wrong person. Ji-hyun could only admit defeat. He showed off his bullying skills to the fullest. He was about to vent his anger on the poor student. The next second Taejun started to fight him. This move instantly stunned everyone. Ji-hyun angrily tried to fight back, but underestimated Taejun's strength. Years of bullying had made him extremely angry. Now he must teach him a good lesson. Looking at Ji-hyun, who didn't dare to breathe, Taejun's heart was simply overjoyed. He asked 2 of his classmates to save his phone number. If they were bullied again, they should call him. The 2 classmates couldn't believe their ears. Is that still the Taejun who was once unbeatable? After that, he threatened the 3 bullies, wanting to see how they bullied others. The 3 bullies dared not speak out. After all, the strength of their family was there. At this time, Jisoo found Taejun. She was still fighting for Junwoo. Taejun was curious why she cared so much about Junwoo. Jisoo told him that Junwoo was a self-reliant person. Although he had no money, he could work part-time to support himself. Even if they are poor, they can only eat rice balls, but they can still eat while memorizing vocabulary. They can enjoy the glory brought by their parents. But Junwoo is different from them. So she begged Taejun not to bully Junwoo anymore. These words instantly made Taejun feel ashamed. He never thought that the former self in the eyes of others was so outstanding. Does the current self still deserve the former self? Hyami was waiting for him halfway. She tried hard to get Taejun's attention, but Taejun always treated her like cheap trash. After hearing such outrageous things Taejun had said before, he hurriedly apologized to Hyami but was instead kissed by her. Taejun quickly pushed her away. His first kiss had been lost like that. It seems he needs to be constantly on guard against the dangers that come from women. After spending a few days together, Taejun gradually figured out Chairman Min's mindset. There were only 3 things on his mind: time, order, and money. Everything in the family had to be done according to the rules he set. It is better to say that he is the controller of the family rather than the pillar of the family. With his excellent knowledge from before, Taejun has temporarily won the favor of Chairman Min. In all these days, Taejun has never seen Chairman Min smile. He only laughs happily when he hears that the company is making money. After dealing with the day's life, Taejun only feels exhausted all over. Now he has everything, but he has lost the care and true happiness of his family. In contrast, Junwoo, who was at home nursing his injuries, was truly living the life he wanted. From then on, he no longer worried about Chairman Min's accusations. Not only could he carefree read his favorite comics, the dishes made by Junwoo's mother had become delicacies he had never tasted before. As he ate, he kept praising his mother's cooking. After hearing this, his sister hurriedly tasted it. "Isn't this the same as before?" At this time, the doorbell rang. It was Taejun who had sent a gift. The next day, 2 guests came to Taejun's house. It turned out that the parents of both sides were preparing to discuss a family marriage alliance. Unexpectedly, Jisoo directly confessed that she did not want to marry Taejun. This was originally a product of the interests of the 2 families. She did not want to live as someone's daughter or someone's fiancée. Jisoo just wanted to live her own life. The situation was very awkward for a while, before Taejun chased after him. He also made his attitude clear. The son who was completely under his control now seemed to have changed. Chairman Min suddenly felt threatened. Jinki looks at her husband's stern face and quickly goes up to comfort him. But compared to his son's happiness, Chairman Min is more concerned about his own authority. Taejun followed Jisoo back to the convenience store. He admired Jisoo's courage for daring to break off the engagement in front of both fathers. Isn't she afraid of being punished? Jisoo immediately pouted after hearing this. She really was too impulsive. She hoped that Taejun could help convince Chairman Min. At this time, a drunk man walked in and vomited all over the floor without saying a word. Jisoo had just brought him up, but she found that Taejun not only didn't mind, but had already finished dealing with everything. This was a complete change from the Taejun she once knew. Jisoo suddenly froze in place. Taejun took the lead and instructed her to wipe down the reception desk. He also noticed at a glance the expired bread. Jisoo suddenly looked up to him. It seemed that he wasn't as annoying as she had imagined. Jisoo slipped on a footstep and accidentally fell out of love. Taejun returned home and found Jinki rummaging through his room. Jinki said he had come to deliver some documents, but Taejun obviously sensed that something was wrong. After the other person left, he quickly checked the drawer. Taejun saw that the gold spoon was still there, so he let out a sigh of relief. Unintentionally, he opened a secret compartment. The photos inside were of Taejun's deceased mother. There was even a portrait of Jisoo. Could it be that Taejun really liked Jisoo? His head suddenly exploded. A horrible father and an unfathomable stepmother. This family is really not easy to deal with. Meanwhile, Ji-hyun was being beaten up by his father. His father learned that he did not enter the Eagle class and even copied someone else's exam paper. Furious, he beat his son until he begged for mercy. Ji-hyun blamed everything on Junwoo. The next day, Junwoo's sister wanted to keep the things Taejun had sent, but she was unanimously opposed by the whole family. They can't forgive this apology. Junwoo packed his things and went to school. His father hurriedly chased after him and handed him the only 100 won in his pocket. For some reason, he had never lacked money before, but now he was happy like a child. After Junwoo left, his father said that he was a useless person. I wonder if Taejun will regret what he did after hearing these words. Although this family is poor, it is full of love. The father tore off the construction workers' recruitment ad and decided to give up his dream. That day, Taejun took out his savings and used the money to help pay off the family's debts. Junwoo's mother not only refused to repay the debt, she decided to return everything he had given her yesterday. Compared to this mother, she would rather have Taejun return Junwoo's innocence. The parents who once loved her gave that love to a stranger. Taejun felt very uncomfortable in his heart. Compared to his mother's cheap clothes, he now seemed so vulgar. Although Taejun is now Junwoo, he still retains Taejun's domineering attitude. He publicly mocked Taejun's poor taste, saying that the bag he gave his mother was really ugly. This immediately made everyone's jaw drop. Jisoo was happy like a child in love when she first met Junwoo. When she mentioned the convenience store, Junwoo was suddenly confused. The memories of the two in her mind began to merge. Junwoo suddenly remembered everything. After seeing Junwoo's strange appearance, Jisoo thought he was suffering from the aftereffects of his illness and immediately became worried. Seeing such intimate behavior, Junwoo thought the two were dating. After confirming that he had not proposed to her, Junwoo let his guard down, because he would never propose to her first. This made Jisoo feel a little strange. Why did Junwoo suddenly feel like Taejun? At this time, the three school bullies came over. They took Junwoo to Ji-hyun's house. Ji-hyun blamed him for the beating he received yesterday, but Junwoo's superior attitude was very similar to Taejun's, and Ji-hyun suddenly felt a little intimidated. Junwoo immediately questioned him as to why he had brought him here, and then he went with the other students to get him a glass of water. Ji-hyun instantly reacted and pulled him back, and he was beaten up. The three of them attacked together and Junwoo was left with no way to fight back. Ji-hyun took the gun down. Before, he often used it against Junwoo. Junwoo still had Taejun's shadow at this time. He couldn't forget what happened abroad. After seeing the gun, he hid in the corner and trembled. On the other side, Taejun came to visit his dead friend. He told his friend about what had happened recently. At this time, he suddenly received the news that Junwoo had disappeared. He hurried to Ji-hyun's house. When he arrived at his house, he saw Junwoo, who was covered in wounds. Taejun was furious when he saw this. He took the gun off the wall. Ji-hyun couldn't understand why Junwoo had always been their plaything, and why Taejun was suddenly helping him against them. Taejun loaded the gun and then aimed it at Ji-hyun's chest. Ji-hyun was suddenly terrified and hurriedly knelt down to beg for mercy. The next day, Taejun went to Chairman Min's office. Looking at everything that would soon belong to him, he was extremely excited. At that time, a document next to him caught his attention. It turned out to be the suicide note that his father had just written. The content of the note instantly sent him to rock bottom. Chairman Min had no intention of letting Taejun inherit the property. Why not leave the property to his son? This is completely unreasonable. Chairman Min returned from a meeting at this time. Taejun quickly pretended that nothing had happened. He told Chairman Min that he had made a mistake, but that he could handle it himself. While they were talking, Ji-hyun's father called. Chairman Min knew it couldn't be anything important, and told Taejun to handle it himself. Just as he was leaving, Taejun couldn't help but ask his doubts. "Dad, do you really love me?" Chairman Min's expression was complex, and he had obviously guessed his thoughts. This in turn made Taejun a little confused. Soon after, Tae-jun found Ji-hyun in the hospital. Ji-hyun's mother questioned Tae-jun why he had shot her son. Tae-jun said that he didn't shoot at him and that the bullet was a blank. But this joke was a bit too big. But Tae-jun was not at all flustered and instead told him that Ji-hyun often bullied Junwoo. He often told Junwoo these big jokes. He did this to let Ji-hyun experience the fear that Junwoo had been experiencing. Ji-hyun's father was furious after hearing this. He didn't realize that his son had such a brutal side. It is illegal to possess a shotgun and live ammunition. The father, who was caught red-handed, could only admit defeat. In the end, the matter had to be left unresolved. At this time, Junwoo was still shivering on the roadside. His classmates couldn't help but feel strange when they saw him. Why did he like biting his nails like Tae-jun? Just as they were getting into the car, Junwoo suddenly stopped Tae-jun. He questioned why he had helped him. Tae-jun said that if he didn't, he would feel guilty inside. The two of them took Junwoo home. Tae-jun also reminded him not to tell his mother about the beating. At this time, there was shouting from inside the house. It turned out to be the loan sharks who were at home collecting the debt. The other party told Junwoo's father to move out this month or they would raze the place to the ground. The father had no way out. In order to protect the family, he once again knelt down. He even helped the other party polish their shoes for $50. Seeing his father in such a miserable state, Tae-jun just felt that he was so useless. Sure enough, he was right to switch identities. On the way back, Tae-jun decided not to sit around and do nothing anymore after seeing the will. Today is Tae-jun's birthday, and Junwoo's birthday also coincidentally falls on this day. At this moment, Jisoo went to Junwoo's house for the first time but got lost. The old lady at the street stall pointed her in the right direction. Not only did she know Jisoo, she also knew everything about Junwoo and Tae-jun. The old lady asked Jisoo to give Tae-jun a letter, and the letter said that the side effects of identity switching was also the letter that drove Tae-jun into the depths of the body. On his birthday, his mother gave Junwoo an envelope containing the money that his mother had saved. He had lost his mother before and now cherished everything he had. Junwoo said that he didn't need a gift. Having his mother's company was enough. His mother was moved when she heard this. The Junwoo who had drifted further and further away from home seemed to have returned. His mother could tell that there was something wrong with the injury on his face, but Junwoo doesn't admit that he is being bullied. The doorbell rings. It's Jisoo, here to celebrate his birthday. This is the first time Jisoo has been to Junwoo's house. She looks at everything in the room with excitement. She looks down and a cockroach runs out. Jisoo is scared and jumps around. Unexpectedly, Junwoo is even more scared than her. In the scuffle, the two of them accidentally fall. Jisoo is pinned under Junwoo. The atmosphere in the small room became noticeably more heated. At that moment, Jisoo's phone rang. Her father was urging her to go to Tae-jun's birthday party. At the birthday party, Tae-jun had prepared a special gift for his father. It turned out that he had used all his savings to subscribe to his father's company's stocks. Although there were only 36 shares, his father still looked full of surprise when he heard about it. Tae-jun had made thorough preparations for this birthday party. He had the information of all the members in his phone at all times. His goal was to make a good impression on everyone. But his strange behavior caught Hyami's attention. Tae-jun was not like this normally. Now he could call out everyone's name, and even invited himself to the party for the first time. In order to dispel Hyami's doubts, Tae-jun once again apologized to her for what happened before. At this time, Junwoo and Jisoo also arrived at the party. What made Jisoo feel strange was that Junwoo was unusually relaxed at this kind of gathering, as if he had come to his own place and was calm and self-assured. Jinki found Tae-jun and asked him to play the song he plays every year on his birthday. Just as he didn't know what to do, Junwoo took the seat and skillfully played the familiar song. Jinki, a musician, was full of shock. Why was the technique exactly the same as Tae-jun's? The superb performance immediately won applause from everyone. Junwoo told Tae-jun that this was his birthday present, and as a way to repay the favor of the person who helped him. After saying that, Junwoo left. Jisoo handed the old lady's heart to Tae-jun. He opened it and was instantly shocked. It turned out that the switchers could not meet their biological parents on their birthdays. Otherwise, they would turn back into their original selves. Tae-jun hurriedly searched all over the world for Junwoo. In his panic, he was knocked over by someone and did not notice at all. The letter accidentally fell to the ground. This became the basis for someone to threaten him later. One day, an old man with a limp appeared on the street. She reeked of bad breath. Her cart contained all her belongings. Everyone avoided her. She came to the street stall. The old lady kept mumbling something. It seems that the old lady was the previous owner of the golden spoon. But I don't know why she has become like this. The next day, Junwoo had an argument with loan sharks in front of her door. It turned out that they had peeped at her while she was showering. The three of them looked at the angry Junwoo and didn't take her seriously at all. They even planned to teach her a lesson, but they underestimated Junwoo's strength. Just as Junwoo was about to beat the others up, Hyunwoo stopped her in time. Junwoo thought they were in the same gang and went straight up to them and punched them. Soon after, A few people came out of the police station. It was then that Junwoo realized she had misunderstood Hyunwoo. She gave him her business card and promised to help him with his hairstyle if he ever had time. She did this as a way of repaying the favor. Seeing Junwoo's unique personality, Hyunwoo was instantly attracted. Meanwhile, Taejun was on a date with Jisoo. Jisoo kept talking about how great Junwoo was. This made Taejun suddenly feel jealous. He told Jisoo that Junwoo was nothing. If he had rich parents, he would never have studied hard. In fact, what he said was all from the bottom of his heart. But to Jisoo, it sounded like he was looking down on Junwoo. Taejun complained about why Junwoo had to bring Jisoo to his damp home. Not only did it smell musty, but there were cockroaches. Jisoo then said that she liked Junwoo. Please don't humiliate him in front of me again. When Hyunwoo returned, he complained to Taejun about Junwoo's viciousness. Taejun said that Junwoo was lucky. Otherwise he would have been hospitalized with a broken bone. During the conversation, Hyunwoo said that Taejun had become different from before. He was obviously very scared by the gun 5 years ago, but now he dares to shoot. It seems that Taejun has let go of the past. That night, the housekeeper brought Taejun a medicine and told him to take one every day as usual. Looking at the mysterious pill in his hand, which he didn't know what it was, Taejun couldn't help but fall into deep thought. Why do I have to take this medicine every day? Is it a health product? Jinky, after learning that the housekeeper's daughter was hospitalized, thoughtfully gave her a sum of money, and then she began to complain. She was often not by Taejun's side. What if he got into trouble? The next day, Taejun and Hyunwoo stormed into the gangster's territory with a fierce attitude. He was fed up with the constant harassment from the loan sharks and decided to help his parents get rid of this scourge. Everyone rushed in at once, and Taejun knocked them all out in a few rounds. After getting beaten up, the loan shark gang immediately became obedient. Taejun told them to behave or else he had enough information to put them in jail. After hearing this, everyone had no choice but to admit defeat. That night, several people came to the house with flower baskets. Then they knelt on the ground and begged for forgiveness. The man immediately said that he would never raise the rent again, and that you could live here for free even after the contract expired. Taejun helped the family resolve the matter satisfactorily, but when he looked back, he realized that his life was a mess. The girl who had liked him was given to someone else by his own hand. Watching the two of them having fun, Taejun felt very upset. He could not understand why Jisoo liked the old him. What was the charm of that penniless bum? After returning home, Taejun found Chairman Min and threatened to attend the shareholders' meeting. Chairman Min immediately understood that he must have read his will. After learning that he would not inherit the property, he kept showing off. Taejun bluntly said that he hoped his father could amend the will. He would work hard to become the best successor. Chairman Min said, "If you really let go of what happened abroad, then prove it to me." What Taejun didn't know at this time was that the will was deliberately shown to him. Chairman Min's purpose in doing so was to deliberately provoke him. In fact, Junwoo is not the only one who has a gold spoon. This girl named Nora has always envied the lives of her rich classmates. She was expelled from school for stealing Jisoo's watch. Nora was also beaten up every day by her tyrannical father. Just as she was about to run away, she met a rich classmate who also had leukemia. In front of the other party, she was like a jumping clown. Nora didn't understand why fate was so unfair to her. At this time, an old lady who was selling things on the street caught her attention. The old lady was selling a gold spoon that could turn the owner into a rich person. Looking at the gold spoon in the old lady's hand, Nora finally decided to change her fate. She went to her rich classmate Hyami's house and used the gold spoon to eat 3 meals. As a result, something miraculous happened. Nora instantly became the mistress of this family, and Hyami, who had leukemia, became Nora. A few months later, Nora, who had no money for treatment, died of her illness. Nora's father lived in pain and guilt all day long. He couldn't understand why his perfectly healthy daughter suddenly developed leukemia. He blamed everything on Jisoo, the rich girl who caused Nora to drop out of school. More than 10 years later, Nora was living a carefree life as Hyami. She got everything she wanted, but under this dazzling halo, she gradually lost herself. On the other side, Nora's father finally waited for Jisoo to return to the country. He followed Jisoo to avenge his daughter, but happened to be rescued by Taejun, who had arrived. He felt like a useless man. He couldn't do anything for his daughter. Desperate, he wanted to go back to his old home and take one last look. He was caught red-handed by Hyami. Hyami, who had seen her real father again, didn't feel a thing. Instead, she called the police and had her father arrested. As she watched her father being taken away to prison, Hyami looked strangely relaxed. And just today, Taejun received a threatening text message. The content was, "You shouldn't be Taejun." It seems that someone has discovered his secret. That person must have found the letter that was dropped at the birthday party yesterday. The letter contained the secret and vulnerability of the golden spoon. As he watched Junwoo walk towards him with his phone in his hand, Taejun suddenly panicked and didn't know what to do. He quickly dialed the person's phone number. Unexpectedly, at that moment, Jisu's phone rang. In order to investigate the truth, Taejun took out Jisu's phone while she was away. Just as Taejun was thinking about breaking the password, Jisoo suddenly walked in. She questioned Taejun why he was so abnormal and looked through other people's things. Taejun asked her who had called him this morning. Jisoo simply opened her phone. It turned out to be Chairman Min. Taejun was stunned. Who would be threatening him? Just as he was racking his brains with the phone in his hand, Junwoo suddenly appeared in front of him. This startled him. Moreover, Junwoo saw the content of the text message. Fortunately, Junwoo just thought it was someone's prank. Junwoo knew that Jisoo was late for class because of Taejun, so he warned Taejun not to deprive our family Jisoo of her right to education. Watching the two of them be so intimate, Taejun was furious on the spot. After a whole day of being confused, he suddenly received a call from Jisoo. The man who had previously wanted to kill himself was caught. Taejun hurried to the police station. The police told Taejun that the man wanted to go home to see his dead daughter, and was caught by the homeowner and reported to the police. And the owner of the house was Hyami. Recalling what Jisoo had said, Nora, who was originally in good health, suddenly died of leukemia. Combined with the fact that Hyami was Nora's landlord, Taejun couldn't help but make a bold guess. Are the two of them like him, having exchanged identities? He then asked Hyami to meet him. Taejun asked her why she reported Nora's father to the police. That person was just a poor man who missed his daughter. But Hyami told Taejun that person was not worthy of being a father. Do you know how he treated Nora? Facing that strange man, Hyami's face was full of complaints and disgust. It was as if she were facing her own father. This made Taejun even more determined in his own thoughts. Just as she was about to leave, Taejun shouted Nora's name. Hyami panicked when she heard it. Had her identity been discovered? She immediately regained her composure and said that Taejun was playing a prank. Then she took out the text message she had received earlier, which read, "You're not Hyami, are you?" Taejun was dumbfounded when he saw the text message. Why had Hyami received the same text message? Meanwhile, Junwoo, who was drawing a picture, also received the same text message. Unsure of what it meant, Junwoo was at a loss. But the next day, Ji-hyun admitted that he had played a prank. Taejun immediately questioned why he had never seen that phone number before. Ji-hyun explained that he had used his mother's phone to send it. Taejun thought the crisis was over, but what he didn't know was that the letter he accidentally dropped was now in Hyami's hands, and it seemed like Hyami was going to do something with it. Junwoo accidentally learned that Taejun had a gold spoon, and when he saw Junwoo's recollection, Taejun panicked. When he got home, Junwoo asked his mother where the gold spoon was, and his mother thought he had amnesia. The only gold in the house had long been sold to help with the family finances, but Junwoo clearly remembered that he had a gold spoon, but he couldn't find it after searching the whole house. Could it be that he had left it at Taejun's house? In order to find the gold spoon, Junwoo went to Taejun's house that night. Jinki didn't welcome him. She had wanted to turn him away, but unexpectedly Junwoo walked in as if it were his own home. Jinki had no choice but to serve him, just as she asked Junwoo if he wanted some coffee. Not many people like this kind of tea, and it's exactly Taejun's taste. Junwoo can play the piano just like Taejun, already shocked Jinki enough. What surprised her even more was that Junwoo can speak French just like Taejun. At Jinki's invitation, Junwoo immediately played another piece. As a pianist, Jinki immediately recognized the mistake that Taejun often made. Junwoo also made it. Apart from their different appearances, Junwoo was practically another Taejun. Dinner is ready. Jinki wants to chat with Junwoo while they eat, but Junwoo refuses, because he never eats outside. Jinki is stunned when she hears this. Junwoo has clearly eaten here twice before with a gold spoon. The housekeeper originally wants to take him to the guest room to wait for Taejun, but Junwoo insists on waiting in Taejun's room, and he found the room with ease, which surprised the butler greatly. Junwoo returned to the room, and not only did he feel that the photos were placed in the wrong position, he even guessed that there was a secret compartment in the drawer. The photo of his mother once caught his attention, and the gold spoon he had been thinking about was placed there. Meanwhile, Taejun returned home urgently after receiving a phone call. Taejun was shocked to hear that Junwoo was in his room. Junwoo in the room was holding the gold spoon. Taejun tried to take it back, but Junwoo dodged it. He remembered having dinner here with the gold spoon, but couldn't find it anywhere. He never thought it would really be here. Taejun quickly grabbed the gold spoon and said it was his. Seeing Taejun flustered, Junwoo suddenly felt a little confused. Why get so excited over a little thing? Just as Junwoo was about to leave, Taejun stopped him. He knew that Junwoo had a mental illness when he was abroad, so he gave him the medicine he often took. At this time, Chairman Min returned home and happened to meet Junwoo at the door. Junwoo's fear, which had been engraved in his bones, suddenly struck. He suddenly trembled with fear. Chairman Min looked at Junwoo, who was uncomfortable, and thought he wasn't feeling well. Junwoo quickly broke free and fled. At this time, his breathing became extremely difficult. After receiving his son's phone call, Junwoo's father hurried to his son's location. He found Junwoo lying on the ground, convulsing. Junwoo's father was terrified. He tried his best to comfort his son and adjust his breathing. His arrival immediately made Junwoo feel completely secure. With Junwoo's father's comfort, he recovered without medication. This is the 23rd day since Taejun has owned the golden spoon. In 7 days, he will face an important choice: whether to continue maintaining his status as a second-generation rich man or return to his original impoverished family. No matter which choice he makes, he must leave wealth for his original family. Taejun spent money to buy an apartment, thinking that he could provide a better life for his family. Imagining the happy scenes of his family living here, he was suddenly overjoyed. On the way back, he witnessed a conflict caused by violent demolition. Unexpectedly, that spineless father was also among them. Taejun couldn't understand why that man who had insisted on his dream for many years suddenly wanted to make money now. But his father said that now that he was making money, he didn't want Junwoo to lose face. Taejun was extremely angry when he heard this. Why didn't he want to change 5 years ago? But now he wants to change? Isn't it a bit too late? Compared to his father, who has become more motivated, Taejun seems to envy the Junwoo who has become himself even more. Just before leaving, his father still hoped that he could keep it a secret from Junwoo. Junwoo's father bought a roasted chicken for each member of the family. Looking at the shocked and awestruck pairs of eyes, he was full of pride. He lied that he made the money from comics, but after returning to his room, he shed his tough appearance and suffered the pain of being beaten alone. When he saw his wife's injured hand, his heart ached. Taejun returned home and met a man he had never seen before. He tentatively called out, "Brother," but Chairman Min told him that was his uncle. His uncle was smiling from ear to ear. Taejun thought he was a nice person to get along with, but as soon as no one was around, his uncle revealed his terrifying true nature. He warned Taejun that he'd better behave in the days to come or he'd kill him. Looking at his serious-looking uncle, combined with Junwoo's psychological trauma while abroad, Taejun knew he wasn't lying. He might really die. He was terrified. He ran back to the haven he once called home, but there he saw a happy family. The happiness and warmth that had once belonged to him had now been given away to strangers. He could only blame his own greed and selfishness. At that moment, he wished he could turn back into the Junwoo he once was. The next day, the number of gold spoons became 0. Today is the day to make a choice, whether to return to the original home or continue to be a rich second generation. Just as he was torn, he received a call from Junwoo. It turned out that he knew about his buying an apartment for them to live in. Junwoo questioned Taejun's real intentions. He felt that Taejun wanted him to accept the apartment and give up Jisoo. But even if he gave up, what would happen? Jisoo would never like Taejun. Taejun told him that even if Jisoo liked him now, it was only temporary. If you don't have money, Jisoo will leave you sooner or later. He felt that no one in the world didn't like money. If Junwoo had to choose, he would also give up his parents for money. Junwoo firmly stated that he would never switch places again. Compared to becoming a bastard who gives up his parents for money, he would rather be penniless. Junwoo's words made him feel ashamed. Did he really choose the wrong path? Just then, Junwoo received a call from his mother. Something happened to father. He is currently in the emergency room. Taejun suddenly panicked and hurried to the hospital. The bits and pieces of his memories with his father kept flashing through his mind. That urgent feeling actually made him arrive a step ahead of Junwoo. He shouted "Dad" in his mouth and anxiously checked his father's injuries. But at that moment, Chairman Min suddenly appeared in front of him. Taejun hurriedly explained to Chairman Min that Junwoo's father was hurt while working for the company and that he had rushed over. He shouted "Dad" out of worry. Although Chairman Min was full of suspicion, he did not expose Taejun. At this time, many reporters were here. Taejun stayed to take care of Junwoo's father for the sake of the company's image. Looking at his seriously injured father, Taejun was heartbroken. He felt that this was the retribution of the golden spoon. God's punishment on him had fallen on his father. After thinking about this, Taejun rushed out. He wanted to change back to Junwoo and end this. At this time, the old lady was anxiously waiting for Taejun. She felt that he would definitely come over, but don't be too late, because after the sun sets, there is no way to change back. Taejun returned home, took the gold spoon, and stuffed the money into his pockets. Just as he was about to leave, his uncle suddenly appeared. He thought Taejun was running away from home and snatched the spoon. This angered Taejun, and the two fought. Taejun finally broke free and ran out. But when he arrived at the stall, he didn't see the old woman. Just as he was extremely anxious, the old woman appeared behind him. The old woman asked Taejun how the month had been. Taejun quickly said that he wanted to return to his original identity. Seeing that he had made up his mind, the old lady was full of relief. The old lady took the golden spoon and cast a spell. This golden light gave the golden spoon new magic. As long as Taejun returned to his original home for a meal, he could change back. 1 year later, he would have another chance to make a new choice. But Taejun shook his head and said that he didn't want to do that anymore. Junwo's sister had just returned home and found Taejun eating. Hearing her sister shouting Junwo's name, and he hugged his sister and cried. The former Junwoo found his mother's holy socks and froze when he went to buy socks. Looking at the socks in his hands, he didn't know what had happened, and now he had returned to Taejun. The former Junwoo hurried to the hospital and looked at his sleeping parents. He was full of emotion. It seems that money really isn't as important as he thought. He hugged his mother and told her how much he missed her. His father also woke up at this time. Everything seemed to be developing in a good direction. The affection that should have belonged to him came back. Seeing the gift from Jisoo, Junwoo hurriedly chased after her. Just as Junwo was once again enjoying his own happiness, danger once again loomed. When his father was injured, he fell onto the man's car. Now he is even coming to demand compensation. How can the poor family come up with this kind of money? Not only did the man not budge, he even went further, demanding 2 million won more for each day that it was delayed. My sister thought of the part-time job as a hostess that her friend had introduced her to before. She could earn 1 million won a day. When her mother heard this, she was furious and immediately gave her a severe beating. However, her sister did not realize her mistake and instead scolded her mother. Her mother was extremely heartbroken and went to the bathroom to cry secretly. However, she accidentally saw an ad for selling a kidney. In order to pay off the sudden debt of 100 million won, Junwoo wanted to sell his watch, but he was directly kicked out by the boss. The boss said that his watch was a fake and that he would call the police. Junwoo quickly bowed his head and begged for forgiveness. At this time, he could not cause any more trouble for his family, and his current watch is indeed fake, because his real watch was swapped by his uncle a long time ago. His mother claims that she is going to be away for a week, which makes Junwoo suspicious. He walks up to her and hears that she is going to sell her kidney. Junwoo takes the phone away from her on the spot. His mother says that she really has no other way. This is the only way she can think of to raise the money. Junwoo tells his mother not to do anything stupid, that he will find a way to raise the money. He went all the way to Chairman Min's office. After spending a month together, he thought he could handle Chairman Min, but Junwoo is no longer Taejun. Even if he puts his life on the line, he only gets Chairman Min's ridicule in return. Jisoo, after learning about Junwoo's difficulties, asked her father for a loan but was ruthlessly rejected. She had no choice but to sell all her belongings, but Jisoo was still incredibly happy. For her, there is nothing more important than helping her loved one. But just as she was about to give Junwoo the money, she was preempted by Hyami. Junwoo had no choice but to save his family, even if he knew it was a trap. At this point, Hyami seemed to be more concerned about Jisoo's reaction. She embraced Junwoo and reveled in her victory in her eyes. A year later, Junwoo returned to his old life of working and studying. At work, he received a phone call from Hyami inviting him to a party. Junwoo, who came to the appointment, happened to bump into a few people. Hyami put his arm around him and once again provocatively showed his superiority. Junwoo hurriedly explained that the two of them now live nearby. Jisoo's expression obviously became bad after seeing it, but Taejun put his arm around her. Jisoo did not show any resistance, and when Taejun mentioned the engagement of the two, she fell into deep thought. Junwoo followed Hyami to her house, and his parents and sister were all here. They were groveling like lowly servants. When they saw Junwoo's changed expression, Hyami quickly called her father into the room. If you want Taejun to become your son-in-law, be nice to Junwoo and his family. Her father looked puzzled, but Hyami was betting that Junwoo would use a golden spoon to change back into Taejun's identity. The next day, Jisoo came to Taejun's house and took the opportunity of Jinki's new album to break off her engagement with Taejun. Unexpectedly, Jinki acted very open-minded and said that she would stand by Jisoo on this matter. Don't worry, and just try to live the life you like. Jisoo was deeply moved by these words. At this time, Hyami also came to Taejun's house and began to subtly hint that he used the gold spoon. Junwoo encountered Taejun when he returned. Taejun took him back to the house but happened to hear Hyami humiliate himself. She knew that Jisoo liked Junwoo but said that Junwoo was only the servant in her family. Hyami advised Jisoo to wake up. Junwoo is a person with no shame or dignity in the face of money. Junwoo went up and hurriedly explained why he was like that. I didn't want you to see me in a downcast state. That's why I lied. Because in my heart, there is only you. Hyami was jealous and inadvertently brought the two together. After seeing Junwoo walk away, Jisoo hurriedly chased after him. After learning why Junwoo ignored her for so long, Jisoo also immediately expressed her feelings. Hyami was furious after seeing the two embrace, but then she started a new plan. She asked Junwoo out and confessed that she knew about the gold spoon. Junwoo then truly confirmed that the woman in front of him was actually Nora. Hyami asked Junwoo if the year was up and if he would become Taejun again. Junwoo, however, said that he didn't want to switch identities anymore. Compared to money, he now treasures his family more. What's more, he and Jisoo have now come together. After hearing this, Hyami directly threw the gold spoon into the water. Junwoo, who should not care about the gold spoon, now showed his anger. That day, Junwoo was scolded for doing housework at Hyunmi's house. Not only did he not resist, he even nodded and bowed submissively. Junwoo's classmates were watching from the side. Even though Junwoo's father felt ashamed, there was nothing he could do. He could only go home and drink to vent his emotions. His wife saw him like this and scolded him for being a wimp. The whole family suffered because of him. If he had time to drink here, he might as well think of a way to escape the control of this family. Their quarrel was just heard by Junwoo outside. Junwoo decided to retrieve the gold spoon taken by Hyunmi. After the two of them left on this day, Junwoo sneaked into the villa and went to Hyunmi's room to rummage around. But just then, Hyunmi walked in. Rather than saying that she knew Junwoo would come, it is better to say that she saw through Junwoo's greed. The reason Hyunmi didn't give Junwoo the gold spoon was to force him to promise to marry her after becoming Taejun. How would Junwoo agree to her unreasonable request? Since you won't give it to me, I'll find it myself. Seeing Junwoo acting like a madman, Hyunmi hurriedly stopped him. In the midst of their argument, they accidentally broke the vase. Hearing the noise, their father rushed over. Hyunmi quickly hid Junwoo. Then she pretended to be changing clothes, which fooled her father, and regained his senses. Junwoo also came to his senses. Golden spoon, you want to save it? You can have it. I'm not going to be Taejun again anyway. What he didn't know was that the golden spoon was hidden in the vase. Just as Junwoo was blaming himself for his impulsiveness, he received a notification from a classmate. Junwoo quickly checked the news on the TV station. Jisoo's family company was facing bankruptcy due to poor investment. Junwoo quickly asked Jisoo out to do his best to make her happy. Luckily, Jisoo is not someone who likes money. The bankruptcy of her father's company seems to have had little impact on her, but Junwoo knows in his heart that Jisoo is just holding back. Jisoo tells Junwoo that she is not afraid at all with you by my side. Hyunmi, in order to force Junwoo to turn back into Taejun, she tells her father to force the family to pay back the money within 10 days or else they will be kicked out of their house. The father finds it strange. It was Hyunmi who wanted to take in this family before, and now she wants to get rid of the family. Hyunmi Jean tells her father that she is doing this for Taejun's sake. Although the father can't understand it, it's actually quite good. You must never keep poor people around. The previous Nora not only lied, but also stole. Later, she died of leukemia. He hates these unlucky people staying around. Hyunmi is furious when she hears this. She doesn't understand why the same people are looked down upon just because they have no money. At this time, the father has no idea that the person he hates so much is his daughter. Junwoo needed to repay 100 million won within 10 days, but only had 5 million won in his account. As a top student, he did the math. To turn 5 million won into 100 million won, he needed 120 years if he relied on the bank to earn interest, or 60 years if he worked part-time, but he only had 10 days. The only way was to speculate in the stock market. Junwoo gambled everything. As he kept trading, the money he made kept growing. His classmates next to him were bragging about the shoes they had just bought. This reminded Junwoo of his dead friend. That night, he went to his friend's house and poured him a glass of wine. Then a crazy woman suddenly ran over. She knelt on the ground and begged Junwoo for 10,000 won. Although Junwoo was also in a difficult situation, he still gave the woman the money. Then the woman said, "Can I have another one?" Junwoo hesitated for a while and took out the money, but the woman snatched it away. The woman laughed at Junwoo, saying that he must be poor for life and that he was pretending to be generous. Junwoo angrily took back a note and then turned around and left. Just as Junwoo had just left, the woman said something strange. "You should hurry and find that old lady." Before Junwoo even got home, he found that Hyunmi's father was pestering his mother. It turned out that Chairman Woo had long coveted Junwoo's mother. Today, he even took Junwoo's mother to a small town in the suburbs. Fortunately, Junwoo's mother did not succumb to the temptation of money and escaped from Chairman Woo. Unexpectedly, she met this animal here. Seeing her mother being bullied, Junwoo was angry and wanted to beat him up, but Hyunmi stopped him. Hyunmi said, "If you have money to compensate my father, then go ahead." She persuaded Junwoo not to be impulsive. In this situation, pretending not to know is the best thing for your mother. Just as her father was about to get rough, Hyunmi quickly stopped him. She wasn't trying to help anyone. To her, neither family nor love was as important as her vanity. Junwoo's mother returns home. Her husband happily tells her that he has received a case today and will receive the signing bonus next week. Although it is not a large amount, Junwoo's mother is still happy for him. Junwoo's father picks up his wife's bag and accidentally discovers the bus ticket in his wallet. This not only makes him suspicious, but Junwoo also goes to a roadside stall and drinks alone. He recalls what the old lady said. "Don't you regret it?" Junwoo regretted bringing back a fake watch. At this point, his heart had already wavered. The next day, while working part-time, a classmate rushed over to tell him that the stock had stopped trading. His phone had no network, so Junwoo hurried home to check. That was all the money he had bet. It was too late to stop the loss in time. No tuition fees, no money from his sister's credit, no savings from his father. He had now become destitute. Junwoo looked at the spoon in the bowl and finally made up his mind. Now Junwoo and his family of 4 were living on the streets and were in debt to loan sharks. So he decided to switch places with the rich kid again. In order to retrieve the magic golden spoon, Junwoo braved the rain to find Hyami. That night, he went to the church to make a last confession. Jisoo arrived at this time. In order to save her father from going to prison, she was tricked into transferring the company's shares, and the swindler was Taejun's uncle. Jisoo was therefore scolded by her father. Watching the sad Jisoo, Junwoo tried his best to comfort her. Jisoo also slowly began to feel happier. She felt that she was lucky to have met Junwoo, but she didn't know that Junwoo was saying goodbye to her. Junwoo told Jisoo that even if his appearance had changed, he hoped that Jisoo would recognize him. Jisoo thought he was saying sweet nothings. Coupled with Junwoo's deep kiss, Jisoo was completely smitten at this point. What she didn't know was that Junwoo had already decided not to want her anymore. And Taejun, a super rich second generation, also arrived at Jisoo's house at this time. It turned out that he had recalled some fragments of memory from 6 years ago. It was a multiple homicide shooting case. The news reported that the murderer had committed suicide on the spot, but Taejun clearly remembered that he had been shot to death. The reporter who reported the case at the time worked for Jisoo's father's company and later disappeared for some reason. Jisoo's father told Taejun, "Don't you know that you killed those children?" Taejun was extremely angry when he heard this. How could he be a murderer? The two had a fierce argument. The camera panned, and Taejun ran out in a panic. The two on the other side parted. Junwoo took out the gold spoon he got on his knees for, and decided to change back into Taejun the next day. Jisoo returned home and found that the power was out. She called out to her father, but there was no response. After a moment of fumbling, she accidentally fell and the floor was covered in blood. At this time, her father was already breathing heavily next to her. Taejun woke up in a panic. He had dreamed that Jisoo's father had died. However, his father told him that it wasn't a dream. Looking at his blood-stained hands, Taejun was terrified. It seemed that he had really killed someone. However, he couldn't remember what had happened yesterday. His father told him not to admit that he had met with Jisoo's father. Taejun ran all the way to Jisoo's house and saw the scene cordoned off by the police and reporters. Taejun was filled with a sense of guilt. He decided to take his own life to atone for his sins. Just as the car was about to hit him, Hyami appeared in time to save him. Seeing Taejun, who was determined to die, Hyami gave him a few slaps. Just then, Junwoo rushed into Taejun's house. He grabbed the leftover food that was about to go to waste and ate it in large bites. By the time the bodyguards arrived, it was already too late. Jisoo originally thought that the police would investigate the clues, but when no one was around, they actually wiped out all the evidence of the crime. It turned out that Chairman Min was helping his son clean up the mess. Junwoo, who had just become Taejun, didn't know what had happened. Chairman Min was very strange. They had talked about this matter in the morning. Fortunately, Taejun had been taking psychiatric medication. Chairman Min just thought it was a side effect of stopping the medication, but he didn't tell him the truth. He just told him that he didn't need to know what had happened. Taejun was confused. As soon as he went out, he met his stepmother. She mocked Taejun in a strange way, saying that he would lose his memory whenever something went wrong. During the conversation, his stepmother revealed a piece of information, saying that Taejun was drunk last night and was carried back by someone. This made Taejun doubt what had really happened to Taejun before the swap. What he didn't know was that at this time, the maid was burning the clothes that Taejun had worn last night. They were full of bloodstains. Finally, he became a rich man as he wished. Taejun took out the gold spoon and couldn't help but remember what the old lady had said yesterday. A gold spoon will melt at a temperature of 1000 degrees, while an ordinary spoon can withstand this high temperature. In other words, he would definitely regret it later. At this time, the number 3650 appeared on the handle of the spoon. 10 years later, he would have a chance to make a new choice. The next day, Taejun went to Jisoo's father's funeral. As soon as he got off the bus, he met Hyami. She sincerely congratulated the current Taejun. If she hadn't stopped Taejun that day, Junwoo would never have succeeded in the switch. Taejun therefore owed Hyami a favor. She went downstairs, intending to comfort her former girlfriend. But things were different now. The support that had once belonged to him had become someone else's. In the lobby, the two brothers were fighting over the shareholding in such an occasion. Jisoo wanted to go over and dissuade them, but she was beaten up instead. Luckily, Junwoo stepped in to stop it. Although he has become a pauper, his domineering attitude has not changed at all. Taejun had just left the house when he met Chairman Woo, that bastard who once treated their family like slaves. Looking at Chairman Woo, who came to ingratiate himself with him, Taejun didn't give him a good face at all. The first thing Taejun did was to help his family change their current situation. Now Junwoo was staying at a classmate's house, even eating a fruit. He was scolded by the stingy classmate's mother. But today was strange. Not only was his attitude very friendly, he also said that the family's fruit could be eaten freely. It was obvious that the classmate's mother had secretly accepted a lot of money from Taejun, and the designer who often bullied his sister was even directly fired by the store manager. Junwoo's sister also became a designer as she wished. This made her so happy. Junwoo's father even received an invitation from a comic company. At this time, the proprietress also lent Junwoo's mother 10 million won, so that she could quickly rent a house and have a home. The good news that followed one after the other made them overjoyed. All of this was witnessed by Taejun not far away. The happiness of his family made what he did worthwhile. The first time he switched identities was completely due to his selfishness. But this time, he did it all for his family. Hyami's family, who had bullied them for a year, also suffered retribution from Taejun. The prosecution received a report and thoroughly investigated Chairman Woo's company. Chairman Woo was suddenly at a loss and felt very uncomfortable. Hyami called Taejun, but her call was hung up. Taejun never took her seriously. To help Jisoo deal with the shareholding issue, Hyunwoo investigated the financial chain of his uncle's acquisition of the shares and found that it was this man in front of him. Although the man is not as wealthy as Chairman Min, he is relatively wealthy. He provided the funds for Taejun's uncle to acquire Jisoo's father's company. Taejun used his status as the family heir to win over the man. The man naturally knew how to choose a side. At this time, his uncle was still taking credit from Chairman Min, but he unexpectedly received news that the man had withdrawn his investment. In fact, Chairman Min knew all about the internal struggle between the two. As soon as Taejun returned home, his father mentioned this matter. His stepmother's face next to him clearly showed some displeasure. Unexpectedly, his own younger brother had been outwitted by this kid. Facing his father's questioning, Taejun responded tactfully. Before Jisoo's father died, he had wanted to get Chairman Min's investment. There were rumors that it was because of Chairman Min that he caused the company's liquidity difficulties. If he rushes to buy now, Chairman Min will definitely be caught in the public eye. Taejun's meticulous thinking instantly won his father's praise. In contrast, the stepmother was not very happy. She found her brother and complained what's wrong with Taejun. After a period of immersion, he became strange again. Yesterday, he came home drunk and even burned his clothes. Jack became interested after hearing this. He hurriedly launched an investigation but found that the surveillance had been tampered with. Jack was not only not angry, but it made him even more excited. That day, Junwoo was happily enjoying his father's company like never before, when he accidentally saw his mother being molested by someone else. Junwoo rushed over and gave Chairman Woo a good beating. He showed no mercy, and even his father joined in. Unexpectedly, at a critical moment, he turned out to be so barbaric. Just as he was about to deliver a crucial blow, Chairman Woo panicked. "Just let me go. I owe you 100 million won, which I can't pay back." Father's fist suddenly stopped. He was momentarily swayed by the prospect of money and protecting his wife. But then he came to his senses and punched the other man. Seeing that Chairman Woo was about to escape, Junwoo quickly chased after him. He pulled the driver out of the car and took the wheel. Meanwhile, Taejun was meeting with Chairman Min's important contact. This meeting would determine his future. But just then, Taejun received a text message from Junwoo's sister. Junwoo had kidnapped Chairman Woo and asked Taejun to help them. At this time, the bald man also arrived. Taejun greeted him and then ran out. This immediately caused Chairman Min to lose face. Chairman Min could not help but make a major decision. He asked the man to continue to support Jack's takeover. After hearing this, the man suddenly felt a dilemma. He did not want to offend either Jack or Taejun. Meanwhile, Hyunwoo took Taejun and sped towards Junwoo. Eventually, they forced him to stop halfway. Chairman Woo seemed to see a straw to grab. He threatened Junwoo with Taejun, saying that he would go to jail for the rest of his life. This immediately provoked Junwoo's anger. At this time, Taejun hurriedly came to help. He told Chairman Woo to forget what happened today, or he would send him to jail tomorrow. Chairman Woo was immediately scared after hearing this. Then Taejun called Junwoo aside and told him to calm down. At this time, Junwoo was not angry and told Taejun, "If your mother was bullied, you would be as angry as I am." But that's not the case. 2 days ago, Junwoo's mother was also bullied. He saw it but didn't step in because he was poor. Being poor is the most dirty and miserable sin in the world. The poor can only endure the beatings and suffer in silence. This is the way he has survived as a poor person since he was a child. If he can't hold back and fight, the result will be debt. In the end, it will affect the whole poor family. If you really care about your mother, then you should keep a low profile from now on. Taejun returned home and happened to run into his uncle. His uncle mocked him, saying, "You weren't here yesterday. Someone else invested in me." Just before he left, he also revealed the result of his investigation. Jisoo's father did not commit suicide. And at that time, Taejun happened to be drunk. It was really strange. Just as he couldn't figure it out, the police came to the door. Taejun was terrified and questioned the police about where they were taking him. Why did the police have a tattoo on his neck? and the guy next to him looked like a bad guy. Taejun suddenly realized that something was wrong. He might have been kidnapped. He tried to resist but was knocked unconscious and put in a hood. When he woke up again, he had been taken to the outskirts of the city. Taejun realized that he might die today. He kept pressuring the kidnappers about his identity, but the gangsters were not at all flustered. Taejun saw this and quickly begged for mercy. He was here to get money. If he lost his life here, he would be in trouble. After the hood was removed, he realized that it was actually a party. It turned out to be a prank, but this place shocked Taejun, the bully classmates of the three Chaebol. This is actually a gathering place for young people from high society. Not only do they find pleasure here, they can also use their advantages to manipulate stock prices. For them, making money is like a game, and as the son of the richest man, Taejun is undoubtedly the object of everyone's pursuit. But Taejun is not interested in this place. He was about to leave when he was stopped by his uncle. If he wanted to go, he had to have a drink with him first. When Hayami found Taejun, Taejun had already collapsed on the ground, completely powerless. His uncle began to press Taejun for answers about whether he had killed Jisoo's father that night, but Taejun told him that he was Junwoo. At that moment, Ji-hyun arrived. Jack had to stop. Hayami, who had heard everything, suddenly understood. No wonder Taejun tried to commit suicide that day. It turned out that he killed Jisoo's father. That night, Taejun had a dream. In the dream, his parents found out about the two of them switching identities, and Taejun, as the murderer, killed Jisoo right in front of him. He asked Hyunwoo what kind of person he used to be, but Hyunwoo said, "You were a spoiled brat and a stubborn person, but you have the same kind heart as the late Mrs." Taejun did not believe these words and went to Junwoo's place of work to beat him up. Junwoo, however, acted submissively. At this time, a drunk old man came to the store. Junwoo once again showed compassion and love towards the old man, recalling that before, Taejun could have killed himself, but at the critical moment, he held onto his hand tightly. Taejun immediately dispelled his concerns. It seems that he really did not kill anyone. Meanwhile, Hayami found Chairman Min and told him about what Jack had done to Taejun the day before. This was the first time Chairman Min had met Hayami, and he was curious about her intentions. However, the answer he got took him by surprise. Hayami said she wanted to marry Taejun. Soon after, Chairman Min returned home and beat Jack up. This scared Jinky, who hurried up to stop Jack from apologizing. Chairman Min then stopped. Afterwards, Jinky tried to speak up for her brother, but was reprimanded by her husband. It turned out that Chairman Min had always known that the two of them were only trying to suppress Taejun from becoming the heir, because of his father's accidental death. His father's estate was all taken over by his two older brothers, and Jisoo was only given a measly 500 million won. She thought she would spend the rest of her life in poverty. But today, she received a phone call from the former butler. The butler told Jisoo an important clue. Someone had visited their house before her father died. Jisoo was afraid that the housekeeper was up to something, so she decided to ask Junwoo to accompany her. However, during the meal, Hayami happened to overhear the conversation. She called Taejun and told him that the housekeeper already knew the secret of the murder. Hayami told Taejun to hurry and stop the housekeeper from meeting Jisoo. Taejun hurried to the destination. However, the place where they met was an intersection. It was impossible to stop each other. While the two were on the phone, the butler happened to see Taejun and was hit by a car shortly afterwards and died right in front of the murderer's clue that was about to be revealed. Everyone suddenly froze in place after seeing the bloodstains on the ground. Junwoo's psychological shadow once again emerged. Immediately, he fell to the ground and convulsed. Jisoo quickly went up to comfort him. Soon after, Junwoo finally came to, but at this time, they noticed that the suitcase with the money was gone. Meanwhile, Taejun felt that the butler's death was no accident. It must be related to Chairman Min. Taejun was right. Chairman Min thought he had eliminated the threat, but he didn't realize that a new threat had emerged. It turned out that the maid had not burned the clothes that day. Instead, she was greedy and prepared to sell them. Jack thus obtained evidence of Taejun's murder. He immediately threatened Chairman Min to transfer all of Taejun's shares to his name, and Taejun must be sent abroad immediately. Taejun returned home and wanted to see his father, but his uncle blocked his way, and then tricked Taejun into a deserted place and beat him up. He wanted to get back all the beatings he had received before. The incident that happened abroad was finally revealed. A group of students were shot dead and the person who shot them was Jack, but he put the gun in Taejun's hands. The camera panned and Hayami found Jisoo, and she was holding the suitcase that Jisoo had thrown away. Hayami felt like she was being treated like a thief and immediately opened the suitcase for her to search. At this time, Outsiders were looking at her with strange eyes. Jisoo would never dare to touch that suitcase. Hayami saw this and pretended to pack the suitcase. Jisoo hurriedly apologized to her. Hayami was overjoyed. She deliberately appeared to humiliate Jisoo. She knew that Jisoo needed money and then took out the money. Then Hayami took the suitcase and left, leaving Jisoo dumbfounded. She clearly hadn't done anything wrong. Why was fate so unfair to her? And everything that belonged to Jisoo was treated like rubbish by Hayami. She threw it away with disgust to the beggar on the street. Junwoo accidentally lost Jisoo's suitcase full of money and felt very guilty. The kind-hearted Jisoo didn't blame him. Junwoo returned home and saw a heartbreaking scene. His father had no money for rehabilitation after his previous injury. He now had no way to continue drawing comics. His mother wanted to borrow money to pay for his husband's operation, but her husband refused without even thinking. He didn't know if he could recover or not. In the end, he would just waste money and go into debt. Junwoo looked at the scene in front of him but was unable to do anything. Since becoming Junwoo, he has been enjoying a sense of family that he has never experienced before. Now, for the first time, he feels the importance of money. He blamed himself for being powerless. With no money, he can only watch his loved ones suffer. And at this moment, he really wants to become a rich man. A bold idea suddenly came to Junwoo's mind. At that time, the man who had previously lent him money called, but the other party was not here to collect the debt. Instead, he asked if he wanted to make money, and in front of him was a gold spoon. The camera panned Chairman Min wearing that jacket. There were still traces of Jisoo's father's blood on it, which he bought from Jack at a high price, just to keep his son Taejun. At this time, Taejun came here and questioned Chairman Min why he sent him abroad. The housekeeper and Hyunwoo were helping him pack. This time, Taejun had no choice. The school festival brochure caught his attention. Jack was actually a fellow student of Taejun. Is it possible that he killed someone? Taejun couldn't help but have a slight doubt. Then he sent a message to Jisoo saying that he was going abroad. Taejun came to his mother's shop and watched the happy family silently as he said his final goodbyes. Just as he was about to board the plane, Jisoo suddenly arrived. Watching the lover who came to say goodbye to him, Taejun felt both guilty and happy. This might be his last beautiful memory in the country. Taejun turned and left. Jisoo looked at his back and felt very familiar. This back also appeared on the day the housekeeper died. A guess she never dared to imagine came to mind. Jisoo called out to him and questioned him. Did you kill my father? Soon, 9 years later, a disheveled figure appeared on the street. He was covered in tattoos, looked tired and disheveled, and the ground was covered with empty bottles. The once unbeatable son of the richest man in the country had returned to the country but had become a small-time thug. Hayami, the current fiancé, was worried sick. When she saw the main character coming, the actress quickly fled in a panic. Hayami angrily advised him to behave. What if it made the news? This was Taejun's first appearance back in the country, but it was at a party full of rich kids. The party was organized by the Queen's Hotel. Junwoo, who had just successfully interviewed, was in charge of ticket inspection, and Jisoo, who was planning the TV station's archive manual, was working as a waitress here today. It turned out that she had received a tip-off about gambling here and was preparing to secretly visit. On the surface, they seem to be playing board games, but they are actually gambling, and the amount is quite large. Jisoo quietly turns on the camera to prepare to record the evidence and report it. But just then, Jack unexpectedly arrived. Jisoo quickly turned her back. Just as she was about to leave, she was stopped by Jack. Fortunately, the other party only asked her to hold a glass. Jisoo walked out of the door unscathed, but then she realized that her colleague had already revealed her identity. Hayami's appearance blocked the escape route. Just as Jisoo didn't know what to do, a hand pulled her into the tent. This was the first time the two had met in 9 years. Jisoo didn't show any happiness, but was full of anger. She had looked for Taejun for 9 years just to investigate the truth behind her father's death, but Taejun said he didn't have any motive to kill. Just as he wanted to drink with Jisoo, Junwoo arrived. Junwoo thought Jisoo had been bullied. Taejun quickly explained a bit and asked if the two were still dating. Junwoo quickly admitted that they were still dating, but Taejun saw something wrong in Jisoo's expression and saw Jisoo leaving. So Taejun quickly chased after her, and just as he grabbed Jisoo's hand, he happened to meet Hayami. Jisoo and Junwoo were immediately thrown out. Jack heard the noise and came immediately. After many years, Taejun showed fear when he saw his uncle, and it was obvious that he had suffered a lot over the years. Jisoo's camera was discovered and immediately smashed by someone else. Jisoo, however, still spoke with righteous indignation about doing something shameful and being afraid of being discovered. Junwoo immediately proposed to call the police. This happened to arouse Jack's interest. Immediately, he wanted to give Junwoo a slap in the face, but Taejun stopped him. He quickly spoke well of the two of them. If this incident were to get out, it would not sound good. Seeing Jack's angry expression, Tae-jun suddenly became afraid. It seems that Tae-jun has been completely controlled by Jack. He quickly apologized for his actions, but Jack decided to let them off. Then he started to hit Tae-jun, but Junwoo lost his job because of this. Just then, a rich kid threw his dirty laundry in Junwoo's face. Facing the injustice of poverty, Junwoo acted as if he didn't care. After years of being an underdog, he has now become more sophisticated. The next day, Junwoo received a call from the police. The rich kid reported him for obstruction of business and told him to come in for questioning. In addition to obstruction of business, the rich kid also accused Junwoo of violating his portrait rights and privacy. The compensation for mental distress alone would be 100 million won. Where would he get that kind of money? Junwoo went to the rich kid to beg for forgiveness. Over the years, he had grown a lot. The arrogance he once had as Tae-jun was long gone. Hyami couldn't bear to watch and quickly stopped the rich kid, but Junwoo still didn't dare to leave. He begged the rich kid to withdraw the lawsuit. The rich kid said he had just withdrawn the lawsuit, and that he didn't expect Junwoo to pay the money. Junwoo thanked him repeatedly, but the rich kid told him that it was only because of Taejun's cooperation that he had withdrawn the lawsuit. Junwoo suddenly froze in place. The way he had just been manipulated looked so ridiculous. His struggle to lose his dignity was just cheap entertainment in their eyes. Although Junwoo was very angry, he could only swallow his bitterness in silence. He thanked Tae-jun for his help and complained to him about the injustices suffered by the poor. Tae-jun saw Junwoo as a reflection of himself in the past, and Junwoo's current state was entirely due to him. Tae-jun was full of guilt and felt more and more sorry for him. At this time, Jisoo came here. She has to be said to be a wise person. There are only two reasons why chaebols will spend money on other people. One is to make money, and the other must have done something wrong. She asked Tae-jun what he had done to offend Junwoo. Tae-jun didn't know how to answer for a while. Before leaving, Junwoo didn't forget to take the bottle of wine and the unfinished snacks. Jisoo also didn't forget to taunt Tae-jun. Hyami learned that Tae-jun had helped Junwoo, and went to his house to question him if he was still thinking about Jisoo. Tae-jun told her not to worry, we will get married soon, and I have already put my golden spoon in your hands. What is there to worry about? But Hyami said she couldn't trust him. Seeing this, Tae-jun gave her a kiss. It seems that he has completely sold his soul. Hyami's initiative is even more suspicious. Could that vain woman really be in love with Tae-jun? After sending Hyami away, Tae-jun took out the Bible that Jisoo had given him. For 9 years, he has constantly experienced life and death. He has only survived because of this book. That innocent and kind girl is now out of his league. When Tae-jun came out of the shower, he could see that he was covered in bruises. These past few years have been like hell for him. He finally gritted his teeth and got through it. Now that he's back here, he wants to take back everything that's rightfully his. The next day, Tae-jun took the initiative to tell the media that he was in possession of drugs. The news broke out all over the place. In less than an hour, their family's stock price dropped a lot. Just as the investors were anxious to sell their stocks, Tae-jun finally made his move. Chairman Min, as the chairman, was furious. The board meeting was about to start. Jack could not have done this. Who on earth would do something like this at this time? Just as he was worrying, another shocking piece of news came. Someone was buying up a large amount of shares. The amount was a staggering 500 billion won, and it was being bought in a single person's name. Chairman Min was in deep thought after hearing this. Taejun's words came back to him. No matter what I do, just wait for me for 3 years. The truth came to light. He never expected this kid to become so successful. Chairman Min immediately cancelled all urgent meetings. He manipulated the stock price using his reputation and then bought at a low price. This strange incident also reached Jisoo's ears. Her colleagues told her not to make a fuss. This is actually a common stock dispute. The chaebol will do anything for money. The board meeting was held as scheduled. Chairman Min suddenly hardened. He immediately dismissed Jack's position. Just then, Tae-jun, dressed in a suit, arrived at the company. He looked full of spirit, like a king returning. The shame of those years has finally been repaid in full. Just as Jack expressed his dissatisfaction, Tae-jun walked into the meeting room. He went up to Chairman Min and produced evidence of Jack's crimes over the past 10 years. He had pocketed 70 billion won, a whole stack of documents detailing every transaction. At this point, Chairman Min also made his position clear. Tae-jun is the new minister designate. He felt that Tae-jun was qualified to take Jack's place. All that was left was the shareholders' vote. After saying this, Chairman Min left the meeting room. Jack was furious after being humiliated by Tae-jun. He immediately called Jisoo. He wanted to tell her something that would interest her. Tae-jun and Hyunwoo were called into the office. Chairman Min praised Tae-jun. He never thought that Tae-jun could regain the shares on his own. Tae-jun had shown everyone his abilities. Chairman Min was proud of him. But as soon as Tae-jun left the company, Jisoo approached him. She learned that Tae-jun was the murderer who killed her father. So Jisoo wanted to do an exclusive interview with Tae-jun. Tae-jun also realized that she had come here for something bad. What's more interesting is that when Junwoo was sorting through the data, he accidentally found the old notebook. The secret of the golden spoon was recorded on it. Taejun knew that Jisoo was trying to catch him. He immediately refused the interview. Just as Jisoo was entangled, Hyami came to the rescue in time. She took Taejun's arm and declared her ownership. I have to say, those legs are really long. Taejun's first day at work was greeted with flattery from the veterans. Taejun just smiled when he saw it. You are working for the company, not yourselves. The new employee's annual salary is only 40 million won, but their annual salary is as high as 1 billion won. In other words, they have to work as hard as 25 employees. Taejun, as a newcomer, also made his attitude clear. This has slapped everyone in the face. It seems that if they can't achieve results, they'll have to go. I'm afraid it's going to be a hard time from now on. Hyunwoo felt that Taejun had gone too far. Now that Jack has been removed from his position, should he slow down his progress? But Taejun told him that the battle has only just begun. Chairman Min will not show mercy because of their father-son relationship. He must surpass Chairman Min as soon as possible. Today is the meeting of the two families. Chairman Wu joked about Hyami's childhood. She was kind at the time, always giving money and food to the poor. Chairman Wu said that he had said at the time that money is like blood. If you donate blood to someone with a different blood type, that person will end up dead. So kindness should be given to the right person, someone of the same social status. But Jinky acted like she was disgusted. How dare you compare our family to your family? Ever since her uncle was replaced by Taejun, Jinky has become fearless. Taejun's reply made Hyami's heart warm. As soon as the two of them stepped out the door, Hyami embraced him. Taejun said, "You were the one who helped me in my time of need. I will definitely keep my promise. After all, we are the best partners." After hearing these words, Hyami's heart cooled. Jinky was not feeling well because of his younger brother. Chairman Min knew very well, but he simply refused to pay any attention to his wife, because Taejun was now someone who made him proud. Meanwhile, Hyami, who had returned home, became more and more angry as she thought about it. So she took out Taejun's gold spoon and recalled the last ability of the gold spoon. If someone else eats with the gold spoon, that person will have the memories of the owner of the gold spoon. This became Hyami's last asset to control Taejun. At this time, Junwoo was drinking with his friends. He asked the question he had been struggling with. If you were made rich, would you abandon your parents? Everyone thought he was talking nonsense. Junwoo suddenly felt ridiculous. How could there be such a jerk? On the way home, he happened to meet his mother. Junwoo quickly went over to help his mother carry things. Then he began to apologize to his mother. He still hadn't found a job to make money, but he immediately promised to buy his mother an apartment when he made money. Then he would move out of this basement full of cockroaches and musty smell. The sensible son made his mother very happy. At this time, his father arrived. He wanted to buy alcohol and have a drink with his son, but just as they left, the father suddenly felt remorseful. It turned out that the father had also discovered the notebook. Looking at the secret about the golden spoon, he thought it was Junwoo's idea for the comic. The father instantly felt sorry for Junwoo. He really was a useless father. The next day, Jisoo approached Ginky, hoping that she could convince Taejun to participate in the interview. She knew that Jisoo wanted to investigate Taejun's background, so she naturally welcomed the idea. Jisoo didn't leave, but quietly went to Taejun's room. However, she didn't find the bloody jacket here. Instead, Jisoo accidentally discovered the safe. Obviously, there were some secrets hidden inside. After hearing from his stepmother, Taejun finally decided to agree to the interview. He wanted to know what Jisoo was up to, and also wanted to see Jisoo again. But he was after all a murderer, and wanted to clear his name as soon as possible. So Taejun had already helped Jisoo investigate the case, and the suspect was naturally Jack. The investigation data was in the safe. But what Taejun didn't know was that Jisoo had secretly placed a camera here. Now Jisoo knows the safe deposit box combination. The next day, Junwoo's house receives a lot of packages, but they clearly didn't buy anything. It turns out that these things were bought by Hyami. Not only that, she also wants Junwoo's sister to take charge of her hairstyle. Ji-hyun expressed his great incomprehension. He angrily told Hyami, "The man you love is now going to do an interview with Jisoo." Hyami was extremely angry after hearing this and immediately came to the TV station. She warned Jisoo not to seduce her man. Jisoo told her that this was just Taejun's job as the program planner. Hyami was not convinced and started fighting. Jisoo pushed her against the wall and said, "I'm not interested in Taejun at all." After Jack was suspended, he handed over the stolen money directly and his status has fallen since then. He came to an upscale party as usual, and was mocked by several people in front of him. "You don't have any money. I'll buy you a drink." Jack looked at Miho, who was sneering, and immediately finished the drink. Then Jack smashed the bottle over the other person's head. He drank alone, unwilling to admit defeat to Taejun. He now regretted why he hadn't killed Taejun when they were abroad. Just then, Jinky came over and asked him why he had hurt Miho. She had gone to great lengths to beg for forgiveness. Jinky wanted to take her brother home, but was refused. Jack said, If my parents were still alive, would I have to suffer like this? He told his sister that if she wanted to help him, she had to kill Taejun. The tears rolling down Jinki's face were not from being wronged. Doing that made her look more like she was distressed. At this time, Chairman Min was calling a meeting with the shareholders. At that moment, Jinki barged in. She came at them menacingly. Seeing this, everyone quickly hid. Jinki wanted to threaten her husband with her shareholding and give Jack another chance. However, Chairman Min saw through her at a glance. It turned out that he had always known that Jack was Jinki's son. Jinki's dark secret. Chairman Min knew everything. Jinki was shocked when she heard this. She never imagined that Chairman Min could endure this for so long. It's really scary. Jisoo just got home and found Junwoo waiting for her to drink. He poured out his recent troubles to Jisoo. It's really hard to find a job. Jisoo encouraged him, saying that he could definitely do it. At that moment, the light bulb happened to break. Junwoo quickly helped to replace it, during which he did not forget to express his feelings. He wants to help Jisoo accomplish more things, but for now, he can only change a light bulb. Just as Jisoo wanted to escape, Junwoo embraced her. He doesn't want to be friends with Jisoo anymore. He told Jisoo not to rush her answer. After he gets a job, he will wear a suit and confess again. Junwoo wants to hear Jisoo's answer at that time. When Taejun met his biological parents again, he discovered that they were still living in poverty and couldn't even afford a grilled sausage. Seeing the two of them leave, Taejun felt heartbroken. Hayami asked Taejun to cancel Jisoo's interview. Their relationship had always been a thorn in her side. Hayami warned Taejun that she now held the golden spoon. If he didn't want to regret it later, he should refuse the interview. Taejun looked puzzled but didn't take it to heart. Today is Junwoo's parents' wedding anniversary. Taejun invites the family to dinner. He arranges a job for Junwoo, but the latter refuses on the spot. There is a knock on the door. Taejun thinks it's Junwoo's parents, but when he opens the door, he finds that it is Chairman Min. Today there was supposed to be an important meeting, but Taejun refused. Chairman Min is curious as to which friend is so important. Junwoo's father and the others finally arrived. The main characters gathered together for the first time in a while, but the atmosphere was very strange. Taejun thoughtfully prepared grilled sausages for Junwoo's parents. During dinner, Junwoo's father put the chili in the soup on the rice. Taejun actually had the same habit. The two also had the exact same habit of drinking soup before eating. Junwoo's father and Chairman Min started chatting. He seemed quite constrained after all. He was sitting in front of the richest man in the country. Junwoo's father joked that they were running a small restaurant and living in the basement. He didn't have the ability to make money and hoped that Chairman Min would not laugh at him. Chairman Min, however, told him that making money was not about ability but about hard work. If you work hard enough, you can't fail to make money. The atmosphere suddenly came to a standstill. Junwoo was furious when he heard this. Are you saying that my father is useless? Chairman Min was relentless. Looking at the company on the table, he understood what was going on. He asked Junwoo if he would go work there. Taejun said he wouldn't go because he didn't want to take someone else's job to satisfy himself. Chairman Min was amused when he heard this. This is just the talk of a weak and incompetent person. If you have the ability, go in and prove yourself. Why are you making excuses here? Junwoo's sister was about to lose her temper, but her father stopped her. He knew that Chairman Min didn't want Taejun to get too close to poor people like them. Junwoo's father said that poverty is not contagious. I am indeed weak and incompetent, but Junwoo is not. Although Junwoo's family lives in the basement every day, they are very happy. After Junwoo graduated from school, he never got a job. Instead of blaming him, his father gave him a set of drawing materials. His father doesn't expect Junwoo to become rich, but just hopes that he can be happy doing what he likes. Junwoo was instantly moved to tears, and his eyes became a little moist. In contrast, Taejun, who has exchanged parents with him, lives in the shadow and pressure every day. After just having dinner with Junwoo's family, Chairman Min forced the two to break up. He couldn't understand why Chairman Min, who was rich and powerful, had to speak so harshly to Junwoo's family. Taejun was extremely angry. After all, those were his real parents. Chairman Min told him that the reason he had sent him abroad for 9 years was to erase his cheap sense of sympathy. Money and the desire for power could not be shared with others. If he wanted to own the Shin Group, he could not do charity as he pleased as he was doing now. If he wants to become the owner of the new group, he must not make him angry. Taejun, however, says, I envy Junwoo's life. Ever since Chairman Min learned his wife's secret, his wife has become unusually obedient. Now she no longer has any capital to be arrogant. Seeing Chairman Min at a loss, she quickly went up to comfort him and said that she would treat Taejun well in the future. Chairman Min knew full well that she was afraid that her younger brother would find out that his sister was actually his mother. Chairman Min asked her to let him go. He would not be so cruel. He knew that his wife had been seeing a lot of men, so he wasn't interested in knowing who Jack's father was. The next day, the program crew came to Taejun's house for an interview. When no one was looking, Jisoo quietly went to Taejun's room. She used the password she had secretly taken down before to open the safe. There was a lot of information stored here, much of it about her father's case, but she already had all of this information. Just as she was feeling disappointed, she suddenly saw a Bible. This was the same Bible that she had given to Junwoo earlier. On the other side, Hyami received the news that Taejun had agreed to an interview. She was furious. I warned you not to listen to him. If that's the case, don't blame him for being rude. On the other side, Junwoo had already put on a suit. Yesterday, my father said he supported me continuing to paint. He hoped I would regain my childhood dream. But things have changed. Painting is no longer his dream. He has been poor for 10 years. After suffering all kinds of injustice, the innocent and pure Taejun is gone. Instead, there is the weathered Junwoo. He wants to make money. He wants to become rich. He wants to become Taejun. He wants to go to the place Taejun said to go to. Work to prove himself. Jisoo questioned Taejun about where he got the Bible. Taejun said he picked it up. Hyami asked Junwoo to meet her for dinner and thoughtfully handed him a gold spoon. Taejun was clearly engaged to her, but he kept messing around with Jisoo, so Hyami decided to teach Taejun a lesson. She sent Taejun a photo of her having dinner with Junwoo. Then Hyami deliberately angered Junwoo by using Taejun's relationship with Jisoo. She also said that women like Taejun because he is such a good man. Junwoo was furious, picked up his backpack and left. Hyami took back the gold spoon and smiled with satisfaction. On the other side, Taejun also discovered Jisoo's hidden surveillance camera. He knew that Jisoo suspected him of being the murderer, so Taejun told Jisoo that he was also tracking down the culprit. At that moment, he received a photo from Hyami. Junwoo was holding his gold spoon in his hand, and there was a message underneath. Taejun panicked. He packed his things and hurriedly left the house. He went all the way to Hyami's house to ask what was going on. What was the last rule exactly? Hyami told Taejun with a straight face, if someone eats with his gold spoon, that person will get all his memories. Luckily, Junwoo didn't eat with that spoon this time. This is a warning, she told Taejun to behave, or else anyone might know his secrets. Hyami's behavior is really very complicated. Could it be that she really likes Taejun? On the other side, Jisoo felt that Taejun wasn't lying to her. Then who would be the murderer of her father? After seeing Jack's photo, she suddenly remembered that Taejun had Mr. Smile's information in his room, and Jack's nickname was Mr. Smile. At this time, Junwoo came here and accidentally saw Taejun's research materials. He then realized that Jisoo had been investigating the murderer for 10 years. It seems that this is the real reason why Jisoo broke up with him. Jisoo was afraid of involving Junwoo in danger. Now she is very depressed. For 10 years, she has always felt that Taejun is the murderer. It seems that everything has to start over again. Now Junwoo knows about this. Naturally, he won't just sit back and do nothing. He finds Taejun and goes at him with his fists. Junwoo questions him about whether he killed Jisoo's father. Taejun denies it outright and tells Junwoo not to be so impulsive if he wants to help Jisoo. On the way back, Junwoo can't help but brood. Could Taejun really be a murderer? Looking at the familiar surroundings, he suddenly thinks of something, so he quickly takes out his notebook. The location recorded on it is right here. Why has he never noticed it before? He clearly remembered that he had a gold spoon. Why can't he find it now? Since Chairman Min was lectured by Junwoo's father last time, he was very angry. Soon after, Junwoo's parents were called to the villa. Chairman Min apologized for what happened last time and hoped to order staff meals at the restaurant of the two in the future. Just as the two were about to leave, a wooden box caught Junwoo's father's attention. Junwoo recognized at a glance that this was a set of artist boxes worth a lot of money. He was shocked and at a loss for words when he opened it. A single tool costs hundreds of millions of won. Seeing Junwoo's father's enraptured gaze, his wife quickly pulled him away. In fact, Chairman Min deliberately placed the box in a conspicuous location to attract Junwoo's father's attention. Clearly, his plan worked. Immediately afterwards, Junwoo was called to the office. Chairman Min hoped that he would come to work for the company, and promised that he would help him climb to the highest position that an office worker could be promoted to. Junwoo asked curiously, "Why are you making this offer to me?" Chairman Min said, "Because Taejun cares deeply about you and your family." Junwoo clenched his fists. It seemed that he was tempted. Just now, he was still struggling with the thought that if what the notebook recorded was true, then it meant that the two of them had swapped parents. On the way back, he was still fantasizing about becoming Chairman Min's son. The dazzling aura of that kind of life made him feel envious. After he came to his senses, he fell into deep self-blame. Chairman Min returned home and his wife told him about Junwoo's parents visiting the house. When he asked his wife about her impression of them, Jinky said that they were just as poor, kind and humble as before. Chairman Min, however, told his wife that they were not humble at all and were very arrogant. They would never accept money, designer brands or an apartment. They valued their insignificant pride more than money. Jinky curiously asked, "Then why did you treat them like this?" Chairman Min said that poverty is not easily contagious, but money can easily make people sink. I want to teach this family a lesson. Junwoo's parents were shocked when they returned home and received gifts from Jinky. The luxury goods they never dreamed of are now filling the entire table. Junwoo's father is still obsessed with the artist's box. Junwoo's sister keeps praising the high-end fruits. She calls her father to enjoy this happy moment together. Only her mother vaguely feels uneasy. Should they accept such expensive gifts? Junwoo persuades her mother to rest assured, saying that these things are all pocket change for them. Her mother, however, believes that there is no such thing as a free lunch. In order to investigate the truth behind her father's death, Jisoo finds Jack for a solo interview. She takes off her jacket to deliberately reveal the shirt with the smiling face printed on it. Unexpectedly, her actions directly anger Jack. At this time, Taejun appears and controls Jack. Seeing this, Jack lets go of her. I thought it would end there. The next second, the two of them instantly struggled together. Taejun was no match for Jack at all and was severely ravaged. Fortunately, Jisoo promptly pulled out her stun gun, and after knocking Jack out, the two of them had a chance to escape. After they came out, Taejun warned Jisoo not to meet with Jack again. This made Jisoo suspicious. It seems that Taejun also thinks that Jack is the murderer. Seeing that he couldn't hide it from Taejun, he also took out the investigation data he had collected over the years. He believed that Jack had killed Jisoo's father. Just like when he was abroad, Jack framed him. Before Jisoo's father died, he had a phone call with Jack. Jack also met with Jisoo's father that night. Although Taejun was also there at the time, he had not yet switched identities with Junwoo, so Taejun could only lie and say that he didn't remember. The next day, Taejun came to the company and found Hyami. They showed their affection in public. Although Oh Yeo-jong knew that it was an act, she was still very happy. She hurriedly chased after him and invited Taejun to dinner. Taejun saw that there was no one around and immediately refused. He turned around and left. Hyami was full of disappointment when she heard about it. That night, Jack quietly broke into Jisoo's room. After seeing the information related to him, he obviously had the intention to kill. Soon after, Jisoo arrived at the front door. His security lock had obviously been tampered with. At that moment, Jack appeared behind her and quietly picked up a brick. Hearing that Taejun was currently in Jisoo's home, Jack immediately gave up. Taejun went to Jisoo's home to investigate the case. After a while, he fell asleep on the sofa. The next second, Taejun collapsed directly into Jisoo's arms. Taejun said that he had never slept well abroad. Jisoo didn't know what to do for a moment. The next day, Jisoo was awakened by a noise. She found that Taejun had already made breakfast. Jisoo was shocked and at a loss for words. She didn't expect Taejun to be able to cook, and the food tasted pretty good. At that moment, the doorbell suddenly rang. It was Junwoo. Looking at the spoon in his hand, Junwoo couldn't help but ask the question on his mind. He clearly remembered that he had a gold spoon, but now he couldn't find it. He remembered that he had a fight with Taejun over the gold spoon before. Taejun acted panicked and said he couldn't remember, and then quickly found an excuse to leave. Jisoo and her colleagues were having dinner when they ran into a beggar, and she had a fight with the owner over an omelette. What's more shocking is that the beggar was holding the suitcase Jisoo had lost, which previously contained all her belongings. Jisoo quickly chased after him and the beggar saw this and ran. After a chase, Jisoo still lost her. Junwoo recalled Taejun's behavior this morning, and the more he thought about it, the more strange it felt. At this time, a friend mentioned Junwoo's piano skills and played the song he played at Taejun's birthday party. Junwoo was full of rapture and started playing in the air. Looking at his hands, he not only became suspicious, but also wondered how he could play so well when he had never learned the piano. At this moment, scenes from the past appeared in Junwoo's mind. He immediately concluded that he must have switched parents with Taejun, so he picked up his notebook and walked all the way to Taejun's office. Jisoo and Hyami arrived at the door and happened to hear the strange conversation inside. Junwoo asked Taejun if he knew about the old lady. Hyami was shocked when she heard this. Junwoo then asked Taejun if he had heard the story of the parents who exchanged their children with a golden spoon. Taejun was also shocked, but he remained strong and calm until Junwoo took out the notebook. Taejun instantly lost his composure, and, looking at his previous notes, Taejun didn't know how to respond for a moment. Just at this critical juncture, Hyami came in to the rescue in time. Taejun's family has a lot of money, and the gold spoon is just an ordinary piece of cutlery. So what's the big deal? Hyami mocked Junwoo for being delusional. How could he take a story so seriously? Junwoo was instantly embarrassed by what he had heard and hurriedly fled with his notebook. Just as they had just left, a news story made them uneasy again. Jack had actually turned himself in. He admitted that he had killed Jisoo's father. This completely exceeded their understanding. What's more interesting is that on the way back, Junwoo met an old lady. The other party was selling a gold spoon that could turn people into rich people. Junwoo finally bought the gold spoon. The doubts in his heart finally had an answer, since the old lady in the notebook actually existed. That meant he was actually Taejun. After learning everything, Junwoo decided to take back his own life. While delivering staff meals to Taejun's house, Junwoo asked the butler if there was any leftover food. The butler felt very strange, but still gave it to him. Junwoo took out the gold spoon and ate it in large bites. A flash of golden light passed, and he had completed the first step. Then Junwoo found Jisoo and hoped that she would forget her previous confession. Jisoo was heartbroken when she heard this. She had always loved Junwoo. After her father left, Junwoo became her only support. Now that support is also gone. At this time, Jisoo still did not know Junwoo's feelings. Junwoo wants to become Taejun and confess to her again. That night, Jisoo, who never drank, got drunk as if to say goodbye to her former self. The next day, Hyami was carefully preparing the wedding hut. Taejun was not there, so she had to ask Ji-hyun for advice. Ji-hyun mentioned the previous incident when he went with Chairman Woo to see a fortune teller. The fortune teller said that Chairman Woo's daughter had died 10 years ago. Chairman Woo was grieving, and Ji-hyun had comforted him like a son-in-law. Ji-hyun complained about Hyami's injustice towards him. He didn't know that Hyami was already terrified. At this time, Chairman Woo had already arrived at Hyami's room. In order to make his daughter live a long life, he filled the room with talismans from the Flower and Gold Kingdom, but he accidentally found a photo of a stranger. At this time, Hyami returned home. Chairman Woo quickly hid the photo. Something interesting is sure to happen next. Meanwhile, Junwoo found Taejun. He apologized for his previous offense. He shouldn't have come to bother him over a story. Junwoo told Taejun that he was going to publish the story as a comic. Taejun strongly supported it, but he didn't know Junwoo's anger behind him. Junwoo used a golden spoon to take away Taejun's life. He lives with self-blame and pain every day, so he often comes to the church to pray. But today the atmosphere in the church is particularly eerie, and he heard a ghost screaming looking around. He didn't see anyone. Taejun took a closer look and realized that the person was actually Jisoo. Taejun quickly took her home. The drunk Jisoo is really cute and naughty. Taejun's heart, which had just been stirred, was firmly pinched back to reality by Jisoo, and spilled the contents of her bag. Taejun took the opportunity to put his phone in his pocket. There was a reason to meet tomorrow. The next day, during dinner, Junwoo, contrary to his usual habits, held back his saliva and didn't eat. His mother kindly gave him a piece of meat. His father then said that because Taejun had ordered staff meals at their house, their turnover had now doubled compared to normal. His sister asked Junwoo to be nice to Taejun. This immediately aroused Junwoo's anger. Seeing that his mother was still serving him food, Junwoo immediately lost his temper, threw down the cutlery and turned his head and left. His mother saw this and her face was full of sadness. Junwoo returned to his room and took out the gold spoon and decided to go to Taejun's house for the second meal. At this time, Taejun also realized the crisis. He instructed the butler not to provide Junwoo with meals. Although the butler felt puzzled, he still agreed, but in the blink of an eye, she told Jinky about it. Taejun met Jisoo by returning her phone. He knew that Jisoo was still obsessed with Junwoo, so he told Jisoo, "The Junwoo you used to like is a bad guy who only cares about money." Jisoo was extremely angry after hearing this. He was the one who only cared about money. People like him would do anything for money. After scolding Taejun, Jisoo turned around and left, but she forgot to take her phone. Taejun quickly chased after her to return her things, and then said, "Don't force a smile when you're tired." Jisoo was stunned when she heard this, because that was exactly what Junwoo had said to her. The camera panned to Jinky, who was enthusiastically entertaining Junwoo. Her son had been sent to prison by her husband, so naturally she took out her anger on Taejun. In this way, Junwoo successfully had his second meal with a golden spoon. Jinky then said, "Taejun is insignificant. Isn't Taejun Chairman Min's own son?" Taejun returned home and learned that Junwoo had already come to the house for 2 meals. He panicked, so he went to Junwoo's house. This was the first time he had returned home in 10 years. Looking at the familiar surroundings, Taejun's eyes became a little moist. Junwoo's mother had enthusiastically cooked dumpling soup. Just as Taejun was about to eat, Junwoo returned home. Taejun told Junwoo that if he came to my house for dinner next time, he should let me know in advance so that I could treat him better. Looking at the gold spoon Junwoo took out, Taejun was not at all panicked, because yesterday when he went to Junwoo's house, he secretly switched the gold spoon. Taejun asked Junwoo if the legend of the gold spoon was true. Then today he would abandon his parents. Is it really okay? Junwoo, however, told Taejun that the bastard who abandoned his parents was himself. He was just returning to his original position, but just as Junwoo was about to bring the food to his mouth, he froze. He put away the gold spoon, got up and was about to leave. This completely surprised Taejun. As long as he eats the food, he can change his fate. Why give it up? He angrily told Junwoo to go back and eat. Seeing that Junwoo was not going back, he punched the other person and knocked him to the ground. How is it possible that there are people in this world who don't like money? Not everyone would make the same decision as him. At this moment, The clown is actually himself. Junwoo walked out the door and stopped obsessing over the past. At this moment, he felt incredibly relieved. He has the best parents in the world, although he is only the son who switched places. But that feeling is real. On the phone, Junwoo choked and told his mother that he wanted to come home for dinner. At the same time, Jisoo received a call from a colleague. The colleague caught the beggar at the restaurant. After hearing this, Jisoo hurried to the restaurant. She opened the suitcase and saw that the 500 million won had already been spent by the other party. The beggar told the two that she was a member of parliament who had been re-elected 3 times in a row, and would never be insulted by a mere 500 million won. The two didn't believe it when they heard this. The beggar then told the two that the current member of parliament was just a domestic worker in their household. Then she complained, saying that it would be nice to have a gold spoon. Jisoo looked incredulous upon hearing this. That night, Hyami found Taejun at a bar. He had switched Junwoo's gold spoon because he didn't want to change back, but Junwoo gave up his identity to save his parents. Taejun finally realized that he was a complete scumbag. Hyami told Taejun that it wasn't their fault. What was wrong with wanting to become rich? Because Taejun was just like her. Hyami no longer felt lonely. Two scumbags who only cared about money got together. Their dirty souls became even dirtier. On the other side, after learning the secret of the gold spoon, Jisoo also recalled all the things that had happened in the past, and gradually realized that Taejun and Junwoo must have switched identities. Jisoo arrived at the front door and found Taejun waiting for her. Looking at Taejun, who had expressed his feelings for her, Jisoo couldn't help but ask her doubts. She asked Taejun if he was Junwoo. Taejun's eyes flickered and in the end he didn't tell the truth. Although Taejun left in a panic, Jisoo had already confirmed her thoughts. The next day was Taejun and Junwoo's birthday. The rule of the golden spoon is that you can't meet your parents on your birthday. But today, all the families got together. But strangely, Chairman Min still didn't recognize his son at first glance. In other words, Taejun is not Chairman Min's biological son. At this time, Junwoo's father handed over the lunch bag. Junwoo, who got it back, quickly went to pick it up. At this time, he was a little uneasy. It wasn't until Chairman Min called for Taejun to come to the office that Junwoo let out a sigh of relief. Taejun looked at the lunch bag in his hands and was a little confused. Junwoo quickly reached out to take it, but the phone was not small and he thought it might fall to the ground. He took the opportunity to exchange the phone. To prevent accidents, Junwoo did not forget to give him a few words of advice before leaving. After coming out, Junwoo was anxious and left his father behind and ran out. Taejun arrives at the office. Chairman Min asks him for his opinion on the company's new project. Taejun immediately says that the company is the one he most wants to join as a newcomer. Unexpectedly, the chaebol only cares about their own pockets. It's really shameless. Chairman Min was a little at a loss when he heard this. Before leaving, Taejun also said, "Can you stop snapping your fingers? It's very annoying." Chairman Min suspiciously put his hand away and couldn't help but fall into deep thought. After Taejun came out, he met Junwoo's father and quickly went up to help. Facing this other man's father, Taejun was completely without the temper of a chaebol's son. His face was full of gentleness. As he watched the car gradually disappear from view, and he didn't know why his heart felt a little reluctant. Junwoo came all the way to the foot of the overpass but didn't see the old lady. Instead he met his mother who was preparing to go home. Today was his birthday. His mother had gone to the mill early in the morning, and was preparing the red bean cake Junwoo loves to eat. Junwoo was instantly ashamed and lost his temper on the spot. The more his mother treated him well, the more guilty he felt, because the person who abandoned them doesn't deserve it. At the same time, a large number of shareholders gathered at the company to cause trouble. The company's new project has caused them to lose a lot of money. Taejun's arrival further aroused their anger. Someone even hit him on the head. Taejun's mind flashed back to some fragments. It seems that he thought of something. At this time, Hyami was waiting for him at the company. Taejun asked her why she was here, but Hyami gave him a slap in the face. "Why did you leave me alone at the hotel?" Taejun suddenly felt confused. How could he have gone to the hotel with her? Strange memories surfaced in his mind. Is he crazy? Looking at Taejun's strange behavior, Hyami also realized that the two of them had switched back. At this time, Junwoo was enjoying his birthday banquet. His flashy suit was out of place here. Looking at his mother's clothes, he suddenly remembered that his jacket had been worn for more than 10 years. The furniture was also the same as 10 years ago. He had tried so hard to give his family a better life, but in the end, nothing had changed. He suddenly felt ashamed. Looking at the moldy toilet and the leaky roof, his heart ached even more. At that moment, Hyami called. Junwoo asked her if there was a way to turn back time. Hyami didn't know either. He hung up the phone in despair. Just now, Junwoo's father encountered Jisoo on his way home. Jisoo comes to celebrate Junwoo's birthday every year, even though Junwoo has become a little different from before. Jisoo was stunned when she saw the password Junwoo's father was pressing. The password is exactly the same as the safe in Taejun's room. She asked and found out that the password is Junwoo and his sister's birthday. At this moment, Jisoo's thoughts were finally confirmed. She hurried to Taejun's company. Jisoo was incredibly conflicted when she saw Taejun again. She called out to him even though he was in a hurry. Then Jisoo wished him a happy birthday. What Taejun didn't know was that Jisoo was saying goodbye. The person she had loved for more than 10 years had finally become a friend again. Then Jisoo, full of excitement, found Junwoo. Before, Junwoo had said he wanted to go to the beach. This time, they finally had the chance to go. Jisoo's smile was so big it was about to spill out of her face the whole way. This was the happiest day of her life in 10 years. Her lover had finally returned. Meanwhile, Hyami arrived at Taejun's house. Chairman Min was not Taejun's biological father. This time, she came to investigate clues. Hyami asked Jinki what Taejun's biological mother was like. Jinki said that Taejun's biological mother had an affair with Chairman Min's friend. When Chairman Min found out, he was unwilling to divorce her. In the end, she went crazy and died. This made Hyami suspicious. Could that friend be Taejun's biological father? She wanted to tell Junwoo about it. At that moment, Junwoo was playing at the beach and hung up the phone immediately. The two people had fun at the beach. Even though she knew she was being abandoned, she still chose to forgive. After all, her current lover was right in front of her. After playing tired, Jisoo also confessed everything to Junwoo. Junwoo panicked and tried to escape, but Jisoo grabbed him. Jisoo knows Junwoo's secret and interrupts him before he can finish speaking. Junwoo shakes off her hand and leaves. He chooses to escape because he doesn't want anyone to know about his dirty heart. Just as Jisoo is saddened alone, Junwoo comes back. He asks Jisoo why she brought him here knowing everything. Jisoo says, "Because I missed you so much." Memories of the two of them in the past come flooding back, as if it happened just yesterday. Although there were many twists and turns along the way, that feeling never changed. Jisoo said, "I'm really happy to see you again." Junwoo couldn't hold back anymore. He never thought that this scum would be forgiven. Without hesitation, he tasted Jisoo's lips. He didn't stop until the sun set. On the other side, Taejun was being interviewed when he heard that Jisoo and Junwoo went to the beach to play. Hyami couldn't get through to Junwoo's phone. Just as she was getting anxious, Taejun called to say that Junwoo and Jisoo had gone to the beach. Taejun said he wanted to break off the engagement, and Hyami hung up immediately. Junwoo didn't answer the phone because of Juhee. So what was she? Hyami immediately rushed to the beach. The vain girl who was full of money seemed to have changed. At this time, the two of them were still showing their affection. Junwoo's father was preparing to go back after delivering the food that day. He noticed that the artist's box, which he saw every day, was missing today. Just as he was feeling extremely disappointed, Chairman Min's voice sounded from behind him. Junwoo's father told him about his feelings for the box. It had been his lifelong dream to paint with such a good tool. Chairman Min told him that graphite and diamond were actually the same element. They were only different due to their environment. Chairman Min seriously offered to give him this. Junwoo's father felt that this was a very valuable gift. But to Chairman Min, it was just a set of decorations. Junwoo's father really wanted it, and in the end, he couldn't resist the temptation and took it. Just as he was about to leave, Chairman Min burst out laughing. Before, Junwoo's father had taught him that poverty was not contagious. But now, Chairman Min was about to tell him that wealth could make people sink. The dream he couldn't achieve was just because he didn't have the money. As long as you have money, you can buy everything, including Junwoo's father's dream and his immensely proud son. Junwoo's father felt like he had been humiliated like never before. He put down the box and picked up the lunch bag that truly belonged to him. After giving Chairman Min one last look, he left in shame. Jinki then came over. She really couldn't bear to watch. "You're such a despicable and vile person. Do you feel good about getting back at him with something as trivial as a pencil?" Chairman Min said, "I was just telling him the truth." Junwoo's father returned home, full of self-blame, and told his wife what had happened. He didn't know why he had wanted to accept the box. His wife was furious when she heard this and immediately wanted to teach Chairman Min a lesson, but her husband told her to calm down. Offending a chaebol would have dire consequences. Junwoo's mother opened the cash register and took out money for her husband, telling him to go out and eat, drink and have fun. He wasn't to come back until he'd spent all the money. Junwoo's father walked out the door in a terrible mood and happened to run into Hyami. Hyami's favorite Junwoo had hooked up with Jisoo. She decided to take revenge. She's going to invite Junwoo's father to dinner. Looks like she's going to prepare a meal with a golden spoon. At this time, Junwoo returned home. Everything in the house was so unfamiliar. Even his own photos were not his memories. Fortunately, he has now gained love. He originally wanted to change back to Taejun, but he got caught up in the chaos. On the other side, Taejun wanted to tell Chairman Min about breaking off the engagement, but accidentally knocked over the wine bottle. The bright red liquid on the ground was so familiar. The events of the day of the incident surfaced in his mind. The memories he once lost have finally returned. The day Jisoo's father died, he mentioned Chairman Min's secret. He wanted to tell Taejun what kind of person Chairman Min was, but Taejun didn't want to hear it and immediately ran out. But after he came out, He regretted it. When he went back in, he found Jisu's father's body. Taejun was so scared that he fell to the ground. The shadow in his heart made him unable to move. At that time, a figure slowly walked over. It was actually Chairman Min. On the other side, Jisoo met with Junwoo again. She knew that the 10-year limit was about to expire. She begged Junwoo not to switch identities with Taejun again. At that moment, it happened to be 12 o'clock midnight. At the same time, Chairman Min arrived at the museum. A gold spoon was placed there. A long-ago memory came to mind. Dressed in a Chinese costume, he met the old lady and bought the gold spoon. The time was more than 30 years ago. At this time, Chairman Min's real identity was to the company's partner. This was the first time he met Taejun's biological mother. While Chairman Min was admiring other people's lives, a little girl fell in love with him at first sight. This girl is Taejun's stepmother Jinky. Many years later, the couple got married and gave birth to Taejun, and Chairman Min also became the company's right-hand man. But he was dissatisfied with the way Taejun's biological father ran the company. He even gave up a 20 billion won big order for love. This made Chairman Min extremely angry. Taejun's biological father knew that he was a man with his eyes on the money and immediately fired him. But Chairman Min asked to go to his house for a meal and left. Then he took out a gold spoon from his pocket. It was already midnight. Taejun and Junwoo's identities once again switched. Jisoo looked at the Taejun in front of her and was confused. To prevent accidents from happening, Taejun quickly went to the house to find Junwoo. Unfortunately, he had just discovered that Chairman Min was the murderer of Jisoo's father. Now he has lost that memory again. Looking at Junwoo, who looked confused, Taejun hurriedly explained everything to him. While the two were pondering who Taejun's biological father was, Chairman Min returned home at that time. Junwoo declined the job arranged by Chairman Min and turned around and left. Chairman Min looked at Taejun with a big smile on his face and said, "I'm so happy to see you." He glanced at Taejun before leaving, obviously knowing everything. Taejun returned home with mixed emotions. The next day, when he came to the office and saw Chairman Min learned that Taejun was helping retail investors pursue their rights. So he asked him his opinion on splitting the company. Those were all things Junwoo did yesterday. Naturally, Taejun denied everything. Chairman Min asked him about his attitude towards the media, but Taejun acted like it didn't matter. He said that in time, public opinion would naturally pass. Chairman Min was overjoyed to hear this. He wanted a successor who was as profit-driven as he was. It didn't matter if it was his own son. Taejun, who had now abandoned his soul, had truly met his requirements. Chairman Min gave Taejun a big present and took him to an entrepreneur's symposium, where he announced that he would be his successor. His 10 years of hard work had finally been recognized. Junwoo's father took a bite of the rice with the gold spoon. The next second, he suddenly had all of his son's dirty memories. His son had abandoned them as his biological parents for money. Their current son was a fake. Junwoo's father's heart broke when he learned the truth. He never imagined that his son would do such a terrible thing. When Hayami gave him the golden spoon, he didn't believe it. The golden spoon was just an idea for a comic strip. How could there be such a ridiculous thing? But the truth made him collapse in an instant. The next day, he went to the company and saw Taejun. He was really happy to see his son again. He wanted to invite Taejun to lunch, but Chairman Min interrupted from behind. His son was taken away by Chairman Min. Junwoo's father felt extremely complex. His son chose to escape from that poor family, and he could only blame himself as a father for being incompetent. Meanwhile, Jisoo met with Junwoo and gave him the birthday present she hadn't had a chance to give him the day before. Then she told him, "I know everything." Jisoo, who knew the truth, didn't want to deceive herself anymore. After all, the person she loved wasn't the Junwoo in front of her. On the other side, Hayami was overjoyed to know that Taejun had returned. She thought that her life could continue as it was. However, she didn't know that Taejun had come to regret the engagement. Taejun was very grateful to Hayami for not leaving him in his darkest hour, and then he broke up with her. How could Hayami let go? She once again threatened to use Taejun's gold spoon. Taejun said he believed that Nora was not a heartless person and would never give the gold spoon to Junwoo's parents. This immediately made Hayami feel guilty. Then she went to Junwoo's father's restaurant to demand the gold spoon. Junwoo's father said he had thrown it away. Hayami could tell at a glance that the other party already knew everything. Seeing that the matter had been exposed, Junwoo's father no longer hid. He promised Hayami that he would keep all secrets. Hayami then left relieved. Today, the family had a rare moment of peace. When father saw Junwoo again, his heart was full of mixed emotions. He was the only one in the family who knew the truth, and that truth was unbelievable. He could only keep hypnotizing himself that person is not his son. His son is only the present Junwoo. It is enough to live well as if nothing had happened. But when he returned home, he saw Taejun again. Seeing his biological son Junwoo Dad was full of anger, and the family was very confused by his angry behavior. Junwoo also told Taejun that they were no longer your parents now. It would be better if you didn't come in the future. Taejun's tears were rolling in his eyes, and his selfishness eventually came back to bite him. Dad was really angry. The current son is really more ignorant than the biological son. Jisoo, who knows the truth, chooses to forgive Taejun because Jisoo really misses him too much. Soon, the 10-year limit will be reached, and Taejun will have one last chance to choose. Jisoo doesn't know how he will choose, so she finds the beggar who also used the golden spoon. Seeing the kind-hearted Jisoo, the beggar finally tells her her past. Once upon a time, she was a dazzling young lady. She accidentally discovered that the butler's husband was her first love. Blinded by love, she willingly swapped identities with the butler using the gold spoon, but she never expected that her first love was a scumbag, who not only divorced her, but also sold her gold spoon. That's how she became a homeless beggar. The only thing she wants to do now is to use the gold spoon to change back to her original self. Jisoo asked her if the original her was no longer a rich person, would she choose to change back? The beggar said, if she is very poor, I definitely won't change back. Jisoo panicked at this. She was afraid that Junwoo would eventually choose to be rich. Hyami found Jisoo and warned her to stay away from Taejun. At this point, Jisoo already knew everything. Why would she care about what she said? Moreover, she already knew that Hyami was Nora. Hyami was furious. For 10 years, she had done her best to protect this relationship, but it had all come to nothing. She knew the consequences, but she still couldn't accept it. Jisoo returns home to find Taejun waiting for her. She embraces Taejun. She's had a long day and is exhausted. The two accidentally knock over some items. This is all Chairman Min's stuff. I'm sure she'll soon discover Chairman Min's secret too. They find an old photo album. It's full of Jisoo's happy memories, but the more Taejun looks through it, the more he realizes something's wrong. The photos of himself and Jisoo have changed. Jisoo still couldn't hold back and asked him what he would choose for his last chance. Taejun shook his head. He had no intention of turning back into Junwoo, because the current Junwoo was living a happy life, and he had worked hard for 10 years to become Taejun. He would use Taejun's identity to achieve his ideals and take revenge. On the surface, he spoke with conviction, but in fact, it was all about money. Jack wanted to become the heir of a Chaebol family. He was willing to take the blame for his competitors and go to prison. He trusted and handed over the shares in his hands. But in the end, he received an angry message. Chairman Min had no intention of getting him out of jail. It turned out that this was all Chairman Min's plan. First, he threatened Jack into going to jail, then tricked him into giving up his shares, and finally, he left him in jail. But Jack is not someone to be trifled with. Even as the prison guards subdued him, he was still yelling angrily. Jack is not someone who will sit back and do nothing. He will definitely settle the score eventually. Jinky soon learned about this. How could she let her own son suffer in prison? So she took the shard and threatened Chairman Min to let Jack out. The butler on the side was shocked by the scene and didn't know what to do. Luckily, Junwoo's mother stopped her from acting impulsively in time. She told Jinky to calm down. How will Jack live without you? Jinky finally stopped acting impulsively. Junwoo's mother said that she would not deliver staff meals in the future, because Chairman Min had hurt her husband badly yesterday. Even if she is poor, she has to protect her dignity. They will not deliver meals to such a villain in the future. Inside the prison, Jack has already started his plan. He has found another prisoner. This man is Hyami's biological father. The two are plotting something together. Soon after, Jinky receives a call from her son. It is clear that she is also involved in the plan. At this time, Chairman Min happens to return home. Jinky immediately files for divorce. Chairman Min smiles upon hearing this. He is not at all afraid, because a woman like Jinky, who cares about face, cannot divorce. Jinky asks him why he married her if he doesn't want to see her and doesn't want to touch her for the rest of his life. Chairman Min's reply made her even more sad. He married her because she looked like Taejun's mother. Jinky's tears welled up in her eyes. She gritted her teeth with hatred. Why did she marry this rotten man? Obviously, Jinky knew Chairman Min's secret, but Chairman Min didn't care at all, and even felt like laughing. The next day, there was a riot in the prison. Jack was beaten unconscious and fell to the ground, but he gave a smile of success. The ambulance took him to the hospital. Jinky, who had arrived at the hospital, couldn't hide her joy. She immediately called Chairman Min to provoke him. Chairman Min, however, told her not to be too happy yet, because she didn't understand her own son at all. The 4 children abroad were killed by Jack. Jinky was stunned when she heard this. When she came to the ward and took a look, Jack had indeed escaped. Immediately afterwards, Chairman Min received a call from Jack. He questioned Chairman Min why he had treated him like this. Chairman Min, however, told him to take a look at his current appearance. He told Jack to obediently return to the hospital. The escape was as if it had never happened. But how could Jack listen to him? As soon as he hung up, Taejun walked past him. All of this was caused by Taejun. Naturally, Jack wanted to take revenge on him. That night, Junwoo's father saw his son again. His son had become the heir to the group. He must have suffered a lot. His father was truly happy for him. Then he mentioned his son's childhood dream, but now he had long forgotten. He thought he wanted to become rich but was told he wanted to be a poet. And he even took out the poem he wrote in the 3rd grade. And the name of the poem was Free. At that time, Junwoo was full of light. He was poor but full of happiness. Junwoo was once a kind and warm-hearted child. He gave this poem to Taejun, hoping that he would remember Junwoo's good heart and become a good entrepreneur. Taejun took over this heavy letter. Full of guilt and remorse, he couldn't even lift his head, let alone face his father. At that moment, Jack called. Taejun hurriedly fled in a panic. Jack picked up a bottle and smashed it over Taejun's head. Just as he was about to stab Taejun, his father stopped him in time. Jack tried to pull out the knife, but his father firmly held him down. He was afraid of the knife piercing his son's body. Jack was shocked by his father's bravery and immediately fled. Taejun was terrified when he saw this, knowing that he might die. The father still managed to say what was in his heart. The family then hurried to the hospital. Junwoo met Taejun, who was standing there stupidly. At the door, he was covered in blood. Junwoo's mother anxiously asked him what had happened, but just then, his father's heartbeat had stopped. Looking at the family, who were in tears, Taejun fell into deep self-blame. If it weren't for his selfishness, his father wouldn't have died like this. Junwoo rushed over and asked Taejun who had done it. Taejun grit his teeth and said Jack's name. Then he angrily turned his head and left. At this time, Chairman Min also learned of Junwoo's father's death. He told his men to find Jack before the police. After learning that Ginky would hold a home concert in an hour, he seemed to realize something. In the hall, Ginky was passionately playing the piano. Everyone's attention was focused on her. They had no idea that the doorknob in Ginky's bedroom was stained red with blood. At this time, Jack had already changed his clothes. Ginky not only doesn't ask him what happened, but also tries her best to protect him. Jack no longer wants to become Chairman Min's successor, but to take revenge. He has become a murderous demon and blames it all on Chairman Min. He picks up a dagger and is ready to settle old scores. But as soon as he arrives in the study, a fist hits him in the face. It's Taejun, who has just returned home. Soon Taejun is knocked to the ground by Jack. Jack picks up the dagger and stabs him. Taejun quickly ducks to avoid it. Just as the two were at a standstill, a gun was pressed against Jack's head. Taejun tried to call the police, but his men took the phone away and locked him in a room. He wanted the murderer of his father to go to jail, but no one here cared about his thoughts. Chairman Min didn't care if Jack had killed anyone. For him, Junwoo's father was just a stumbling block to Taejun becoming his heir. Junwoo's father's death was actually a good thing. Chairman Min was going to help him solve his immediate problem. Jack picked up the gun and was about to kill him in return, because Ginky had told him never to trust Chairman Min again. Chairman Min was the person he admired the most. That admiration almost drove him crazy, but now he has come to this state because of Chairman Min's frame-up. Just as Jack was about to shoot, Chairman Min told a shocking secret. Jack couldn't believe that his sister was his biological mother. Learning the truth, he lost his mind and went to the lobby with a gun. Jack asked Ginky the truth in front of everyone. Everyone was shocked by this scene. Ginky, who valued her reputation above her life, hurried over to calm Jack down. She claimed that her younger brother was sick and tried to lie to everyone present. Seeing his sister react like this, Jack actually already had an answer in his heart, but he still didn't give up and asked Ginky if she was his mother. Ginky still deliberately changed the subject. Jack just wanted to call out mother in an open and above-board manner, but he had to threaten her with a gun to do so. The people in the hall were so scared that they fled. Jack's long-lost mother was always by his side. He couldn't understand why Ginky had lied to him. Jack left this world to the astonished stares of the crowd. The next day was Junwoo's father's funeral. Jisoo brought Taejun here. When her sister saw Taejun, she was furious. How dare the murderer of her father come here? She went crazy, telling Taejun to get lost. Her mother quickly stepped forward to stop her husband's death. She didn't blame Taejun. In fact, her sister also knew that it wasn't Taejun's fault, but she just couldn't accept the reality. Her selfishness had killed their father. He wanted to become rich and give his family a better life. But not only had nothing changed, he had become more and more greedy. In the end, it was his own father who had to bear the consequences. With tears streaming down his face, he once again recalled the words of his father as he died. At this time, Hayami arrived, looking at her beloved kneeling on the ground, crying bitterly. She felt immense self-blame in her heart. If she hadn't given Junwoo the gold spoon, perhaps the tragedy would never have happened. Feeling remorseful, she had no words to face the family, so she left immediately. After the funeral, the family sorted through their father's belongings. His sister accidentally found Taejun's gold spoon. Junwoo quickly took it away when he saw it. His mother opened the closet and took out the clothes her husband had worn for more than 10 years. A few days ago, They had made a promise to go see the autumn leaves together. Now autumn was almost here, but he was no longer here. That afternoon, the two people who had switched identities met. Taejun apologized to Junwoo, saying that his selfishness had killed his father. 2 days later, the 10-year deadline would be up. At that time, he would make his final choice. Taejun asked Junwoo if he wanted to change back to his original identity. Junwoo still insisted on his original idea. He was willing to give up inheriting a family fortune of hundreds of millions of won for Junwoo's mother. Just before he left, he told Taejun that he might have found his biological father. The man was a good friend of Chairman Min, but he committed suicide 20 years ago. That night, Hyami found Taejun. She felt that she was responsible for Junwoo's death. Although Hyami was extremely reluctant to see things develop to this extent, she decided not to pressure Taejun anymore. The two decided to break up. On the other side, Jinky, who had lost her son, could not stop crying. If she had admitted that she was Jack's mother, perhaps Jack would not have died. She picked up the photo of Taejun's biological father. Then Jinky said, "It wasn't me who killed our Jack." It turned out that Jack was born to Jinky and Taejun's biological father. The relationship is really complicated. Tomorrow is the day Taejun makes his choice, but he has acted against Chairman Min in order to protect the rights of the underprivileged. He did not lay off employees as Chairman Min wanted. Moreover, Taejun and his partners have raised the company's stock price. He wants to let the previously angry shareholders make a lot of money. Then he met Chairman Min at a convenience store. Taejun invited Chairman Min to dinner. He wanted to persuade him to change his attitude towards the lower class in this way. Chairman Min thought that Junwoo's father's death would completely break Taejun's will. Unexpectedly, his family once again became an obstacle for him. He told Taejun to hurry up and go back to the way he was. He could not tolerate anyone or anything that hindered Taejun's ideas. Jisoo found Taejun and told him her suspicions. The news report said that Jack committed suicide in the hospital. This is obviously a fabricated fact. Is it possible that her father's death was also fabricated? After hearing this, Taejun hurriedly called Hyunwoo. He had previously entrusted Hyunwoo to help investigate Chairman Min. However, there was nothing unusual about Chairman Min, but his best friend died by suicide, and the first person to find the body was Chairman Min. In other words, it is very likely that Chairman Min killed Taejun's biological father. He hurriedly told Junwoo this news. The anxious Junwoo did not notice at all that two men in black were following him closely. Before the three of them even reached the meeting place, they discovered that Junwoo had been taken hostage by the men in black. They hurried down to help. Hyunwoo, a former bodyguard, easily fought off the criminals, but as he was chasing after them, he noticed that there was a car waiting to pick them up, and it was obviously not from the underworld. Chairman Min and Taejun's biological father were the same age. A bold idea suddenly popped into Taejun's head. Chairman Min must have used the gold spoon to switch identities. Taejun hurried back to the company and reorganized the secret information Chairman Min gave him. He was going to use this to send Chairman Min to prison. The next day, the old lady anxiously waited for Junwoo to arrive. Unexpectedly, the person who came was Taejun, who had become Junwoo. He was still holding the gold spoon in his hand. Meanwhile, the place where Chairman Min had arranged to meet Taejun was in a rundown building. It turned out to be the place where Chairman Min killed Taejun's father. Chairman Min, as the person who used the gold spoon, knew everything when he saw the gold spoon during Junwoo's first meal. The previous Taejun was a waste. It would be better to try the effect of a different son. At this point, Chairman Min freely admitted that he killed Jisoo's father. It turned out that Jisoo's father had evidence that he had killed Taejun's biological father. At that time, he was facing bankruptcy, so he wanted to threaten Chairman Min again to help him. Chairman Min had enough of this blackmail and knocked Jisoo's father to death. Unexpectedly, he happened to be encountered by Taejun. Chairman Min naturally let Taejun bear the responsibility. Chairman Min told Taejun that he had not given up on him. As long as he could be as ruthless as himself and believe in wealth, he could become his successor. But this time, Taejun resolutely refused. Grandma had said that using a gold spoon would pay a corresponding price, and now Chairman Min's time has come. Taejun has handed over all the evidence of his crimes. Several inspectors are approaching. Chairman Min will face imprisonment. However, Taejun never expected that Chairman Min knew everything he had done. Chairman Min not only suppressed the evidence of his crimes, but also handed over the washed jacket. This time, Taejun lost. With Hyunwoo's help, he finally escaped. Meanwhile, Junwoo, who had become Taejun, found the old lady with the gold spoon. The old lady felt a little puzzled. Her gold spoon had not been used even 3 times, so why was he coming to her now? The old lady was stunned by Junwoo's words. He said he had come to return the item. He did not deserve to own it. The old lady asked if he would regret doing so. Junwoo gave a contemptuous smile and then slammed the gold spoon on the table. She also mocked the old lady's hobby as being very bad. How could she sell such strange things? The old lady felt aggrieved, because there are so many people complaining about the injustice of the world. She is only helping these poor people, in the face of Junwoo's strong demand for a refund. The old lady had no choice but to refund the money. After learning that Taejun would not be coming, she immediately started complaining. She is annoyed by people who achieve their goals and then disappear without a trace. She still has one last rule that she hasn't told him about. Junwoo told the old lady not to worry about this rule. They already knew about it. At this time, Hyami called. He learned that Taejun was framed by Chairman Min and immediately came to argue with him. He killed his own father to get to where he is today, and now he is making someone else take the blame for his mistakes. Chairman Min told Junwoo that without him, there would be no company as it is now. He is just taking back what is rightfully his. Junwoo is fed up with him using wealth to rank people, but because he has no evidence and no way to bring Chairman Min to justice, he can only let the arrogant Chairman Min rant. After leaving, Junwoo suddenly realized that Chairman Min had never returned to see the old lady. In other words, he didn't know the rules of the golden spoon. This might be Chairman Min's biggest weakness. Taejun immediately called Junwoo. The two hurried to the company. After a while of hiding, they were finally not discovered. However, there were just too many employees here. As fugitives, the two of them could hardly move. Just then, Taejun suddenly saw a poster for a collectibles exhibition. His mind flashed back to what his partner had said. On the other side, Jisoo couldn't get in touch with Taejun for a long time, so she hurried out in a panic. But as soon as she stepped out the door, she ran into Hyami. She was extremely anxious and had to find Taejun before the police did. And the reason she came to find Jisoo was actually for another purpose. She hoped that Jisoo would persuade Taejun to return to Junwoo. In this way, Hyami could completely get away. Taejun, having nowhere else to go, finally went to his biological mother's house. When he arrived here again, everything had changed. The father who protected him with his life was gone. His mother served him his favorite food, dumpling soup. Taejun asked his mother what she liked. He used to think that family was a hindrance. Now he finally realized the importance of family. His mother gently told him people don't get curious about the things they are used to. Only when you lose what you take for granted can you understand how precious it is. His mother's tears were already running down her face. She quickly found an excuse to leave. 10 years later, Taejun finally got to eat his mother's cooking. He took out a golden spoon from his bosom. It was the very same spoon that Chairman Min had. It turned out that Chairman Min had thought the golden spoon was useless after getting everything he wanted. He had even left the spoon in the exhibition hall. The partner didn't want to get involved in the fight between father and son. At the same time, he didn't know the magic of the golden spoon. Naturally, he chose to let Taejun take the golden spoon. Taejun took a bite of rice with the golden spoon, and a golden light flashed, and all of Chairman Min's memories flashed through his mind. He witnessed himself eating with the golden spoon, his father being ruthlessly humiliated by Chairman Min, and Chairman Min killing 2 people. Taejun was so shocked by Chairman Min's perversion that he became paralyzed. Just as he was about to leave, his mother called out to him. She was worried that as a fugitive, Taejun had nowhere to go. Taejun told her not to worry, he had something important to do now. He knew that he might die. Thinking that this might be the last time he saw his mother, Taejun finally couldn't hold back anymore. On the other side, Jisoo's colleague only remembered at this time that Jisoo's father had entrusted her to pass on a video to Jisoo. Jisoo was shocked after seeing the video. It was exactly the evidence of Chairman Min's murder. Junwoo immediately wanted to go to the police, but everyone knew Chairman Min's power, and going to the police was useless. That night, Taejun returned home but happened to be seen by Jinky. She hated Chairman Min and decided to help Taejun. Soon after, Chairman Min returned home and found Taejun sitting there like a king. Taejun said, "I've come to tell you about the secret funds you hid in a foreign bank. I've used all that money for charity." Chairman Min was incredulous when he heard this. At that moment, the phone rang and the other party confirmed Taejun's words. Chairman Min was stunned. He was the only one who knew the password for such a huge sum of money. How did Taejun manage to do it? Taejun calmly took out the gold spoon and told Chairman Min the last rule of the gold spoon. Taejun already knew everything. Although it was true that Chairman Min had killed for money, it was also true that Chairman Min was proud of Taejun's achievements. After 10 years together, he had some affection for Chairman Min. The reason Taejun came to find Chairman Min was to hope that he would turn himself in, but this was really naive. Chairman Min took off his jacket and said that he never intended to have a child. He felt that the child would abandon his parents for money. Just like himself and Junwoo, money is the only thing in the world that will never betray a person. I did feel proud of him. Occasionally, I imagined that he was my son. With several lives on his hands, it was already too late for him to turn back, Chairman Min said, and walked around to Taejun's back. Taejun soon stopped moving. When Chairman Min let go of his hand, Taejun picked up the ornament on the ground and hit him. Chairman Min was seriously injured and fell to the ground. Just as Taejun was about to finish him off, Junwoo stopped him in time. My father definitely wouldn't want to see him like this. Taejun guiltily threw away his weapon. At this time, Chairman Min got up again. Junwoo tried to stop him but was knocked down directly. Chairman Min took the gold spoon and walked towards the door. On the other side, Hyami played the evidence of Chairman Min's murder at this time. In an instant, the whole country was in an uproar. Chairman Min met Ginky while escaping. She kindly asked Chairman Min about his injuries, but in fact she was buying time. Seeing that Chairman Min was about to leave, Jinky quickly embraced him. The police eventually arrested Chairman Min. Looking at his wife's departing back, Chairman Min's heart was filled with complex emotions. Jinky thought she had avenged her former lover, but she didn't realize that she had also sent her lover to prison. It was now the early hours of the morning. Taejun ultimately did not change back to Junwoo. He apologizes to his current self, but Taejun is grateful to Junwoo, because thanks to him, he was able to find such good parents. In the end, the two people who switched identities chose the life they wanted. But it doesn't end there. Chairman Min at the police station is not at all panicked. The lawyer has taken care of everything, and the chief prosecutor has been replaced by Chairman Min's people, so it won't be long before Chairman Min gets out. At this time, Chairman Min is plotting something else, that is to kill Taejun. Taejun on the other hand decides to move out and live with Jisoo. But just as he is packing his bags, the servant brings him a glass of juice. Taejun has not had time to eat yet and drinks it without thinking. Outside the room, Jinky wants to say goodbye to Taejun, but when she opens the door, she sees blood staining the whole room. Jisoo waits outside for a long time, but all she gets is an ambulance. She realizes something is wrong and runs in, only to find Taejun already covered in a white sheet. The young master of a multi-billion-dollar chaebol had died a tragic death at home. As she watched the body being carried away, Jisoo sat on the floor, crying bitterly. Fate really can play tricks on people. 3 years later, as expected, Junwoo and Hyunwoo got married. Junwoo's mother and family finally escaped from the damp basement. Although they are still not considered rich, they are living a happy life. Junwoo has become a well-known cartoonist. His comic, Golden Spoon, has become a huge hit. During the interview, the reporter asked Kim Spoon what he said to him. Junwoo said that when he was a child, his family was very poor, and his favorite food was his mother's spicy kimchi hot pot. Although the family was poor, his parents taught him a lot. Kim Spoon does not represent wealth, but a happy and fulfilling life. After the interview, they went to a restaurant to eat. The proprietress was the beggar from before. After giving up her obsession with money, she is now also happy and fulfilled. The two of them complained about the unfairness of fate. Chairman Min had been proven guilty of murder. He never thought he would be released from prison today. The old woman had said that using the golden spoon would come at a price. Junwoo became a rich man, but in the end, both he and his father died. Compared to these two, Chairman Min and Hyami's price was too light. But what the two of them didn't know was that at this moment, they were paying the price. Hyami and Ji-hyun got married as they wished and had a little princess. But the servant in their family happened to be a pervert, who had been in huge debt to loan sharks, had evil intentions. As soon as the family left, the servant called the loan sharks. Chairman Min was in a wheelchair after being released from prison. Jinky had been feeding Chairman Min drugs for 3 years without fail. Although Chairman Min was still alive, he had long since become like a vegetable. It was because of this evil man that Jinky's lover and son had died. Jinky hated Chairman Min and wanted to torture him severely. One day, Jisoo received an interview request. The wealthy gardener was teaching the people at the orphanage how to trade stocks. When Jisoo met this person, she felt incredibly familiar. This person was none other than Taejun, who had changed his identity. It turned out that the gardener had also met the old lady selling gold spoons. He had eaten 3 meals and switched identities with Taejun. Taejun, who had juice delivered to his lips, lost his memory. He walked out in surprise, and as a newcomer, Taejun died tragically in his room. Now that the two have met again, it can be considered a happy ending. Sometimes greed and desire can really destroy a person. Okay, that's the end of today's story. Thank you for watching and supporting us. See you next time.